Chapter 2431. The law of destiny could be successfully integrated into the three-dimensional world, which allowed Lin Tianyi to see a new door. In the four-dimensional world and above, each world was very powerful because of its special law of dimension. The more powerful the law of dimension, the stronger the psionic power and Tao power of the world. Only the law of reincarnation was a little special. Although the foundation of reincarnation existed in the four-dimensional world, the psionic power and Tao power of the four-dimensional world could not be compared to the world above. It was only the size of the territory, but it was far more vast than the worlds above. Lin Tian now mastered the law of reincarnation, the law of destiny, the law of all beginnings, the law of dark light, the law of indestructibility, the law of inverse, the law of star creation, and the law of desolate heaven. Except for the law of reincarnation, which was not fully mastered, the other law of dimension could be integrated into the three-dimensional world, which was bound to make the three-dimensional world transform again and again. To put it simply, if you were to perfectly integrate the law of beginning, the law of dark light, the law of indestructibility, the law of Tao defying, and the law of star creation into the three-dimensional world, and given a certain amount of time, the three-dimensional world in his body might grow into a world even more amazing than the five-dimensional world. How much would his strength increase by then? Without a doubt, a lot. Thinking of this, Lin Tian's eyes shone brighter. He took a deep breath and imprinted the law of all beginnings, the law of dark light, the law of indestructibility, the law of inverse, the law of star creation, and the law of desolate heaven into the three-dimensional world one by one. Time passed little by little. In the blink of an eye, 3 months had passed. In the past 3 months, he had integrated all the dimensional laws that he had mastered into the three-dimensional world, except for the reincarnation cycle. It seemed that he had not interweaved them into every corner of the three-dimensional world, but he had still caused an extraordinary change in this world, and the spiritual energy had clearly become denser. It will take at least 100 years to make these law of dimension completely interweave into every corner of this world and make this world have these law of dimension. He said to himself. Boom! Outside, the sky shook, and a thunder vortex emerged. He withdrew his divine sense from the three-dimensional world and looked not far away. 3 months later, with the help of some heavenly and earthly treasures and Baodan that he gave, little Mu Chun reached the golden immortal realm. At this time, a golden immortal level heavenly tribulation descended. Not bad. The Baodan heavenly treasures and earthly treasures that he had given to the little fellow previously corresponded to the little fellow's current cultivation base. He did not give the little fellow heavenly treasures or six-dimensional heavenly treasures and earthly treasures at the beginning. Now, after 3 months, the little fellow was able to reach the golden immortal realm. Half of it was due to these heavenly treasures, and the other half was due to her bloodline and her own hard work. Of course, it was also because the seven-dimensional world itself was very suitable for cultivation. The Holy Spirit Chi was too amazing. Rumble! Thunder rumbled and continued to descend. Little Mu Chun was crossing the tribulation, forcibly bearing the thunder punishment and using the thunder power of the thunder punishment to cultivate. Even when his body was smashed into a bloody mess, he didn't cry out in pain. He gritted his teeth and endured, enduring one destructive bolt after another. Lin Tian watched from the side and nodded secretly. It was really good for a 6-year-old child to be able to endure such hardships. Of course, he also felt some heartache because he knew very well that the little fellow was supporting herself with hatred for revenge. In the end, his third disciple was still very young after all, only 6 years old. Rumble! Thunder roared in the sky, and one after another, it descended. Soon, this golden immortal level heavenly tribulation was over. Little Mu Chun used the 7-colored auspicious clouds after the tribulation to strengthen his body and stabilize his realm. Master, should I continue to cultivate? After the 7-colored auspicious clouds, the little fellow asked Lin Tian. Not for the time being. Come to Master, he said to the little fellow. Little Mu Chun was very obedient. With some dust left behind from the tribulation on his body, he quickly came to Lin Tian. Lin Tian asked the little fellow to sit beside him and patted the dust off his body. Then, wisps of pure reincarnation origin light surged out from his body and entered the little fellow's body bit by bit, helping to improve the little fellow's physique. The little fellow's desolate heaven bloodline was very powerful. It was even many times stronger than his second senior brother's chaotic body. However, it was not very good to bear such a bloodline at such a young age. It was a bit of a burden on the body. Now, he was using the reincarnation origin light to tidy up the little fellow's body. It could make the little fellow's physique stronger and allow the bloodline power to better adapt. "How do you feel?" he asked. "Yes, very comfortable. Thank you, Master." Little Muchin nodded. As the reincarnation origin light surged in, he felt his body suddenly become tens of thousands of times more comfortable. Then he asked curiously, "Master, what is this light? It seems like the desolate heaven law in my body is afraid." Although he was a cultivator, the little fellow was still young and did not come into contact with many things. He did not understand reincarnation and could not sense what kind of power this was. Reincarnation is a very special power. I am using it to tidy up your physique so that your bloodline can better adapt to your body and better stimulate your strength. Lin Tian smiled and did not explain further. "Oh!" Little Muchin nodded again. As he had never come into contact with reincarnation and had not read about it in ancient books, he did not know how terrifying reincarnation was. Now he could not understand how terrifying Lin Tian, who controlled reincarnation, was. He said obediently, "Thank you, Master. This disciple will work hard to cultivate and become stronger. I will definitely not disappoint Master." As he said this, the little fellow's eyes could not help but reveal hatred. He could not help but clench his fists tightly. The Blood Demon Hall, Great Moon Family Clan, Ghost Lock City, Heaven Fiend Palace, Green Immortal Sect, 10,000 Slaughter Divine Pavilion, and Purple Rainbow Dao Abode. These 7 great factions had annihilated his family and killed Grandpa Zhou, who had accompanied and taken care of him. He wanted revenge. Lin Tian naturally saw the unconcealable hatred in the little fellow's eyes. That kind of hatred was too heavy and too tiring for a 6-year-old child to bear. As his master, he felt somewhat distressed when he saw this. However, even though he felt sorry for the little fellow, he did not say anything about it. This was because he had experienced something similar in the past, and he knew very well that this kind of hatred could not be diluted before the 7 great forces were destroyed. With his current cultivation and battle prowess, he could actually directly annihilate the 7 great forces. However, he did not plan to do so because he knew very well that the little fellow wanted to rely on her own strength to personally destroy them in the future. Just like his teacher, back then when he wanted to kill Luanhui Wang and the others, he could actually do it with just a thought. However, he didn't do it because he knew that Yi Shiwen wanted to personally take revenge. He just silently protected Yi Shiwen from behind, allowing Yi Shiwen to constantly train and grow. In the end, Yi Shiwen personally destroyed Luanhui Wang and the others, personally ending the blood feud. He had the little fellow sit quietly before him while he used the light from the origin of samsara to gently adjust the little fellow's constitution. He only stopped after 7 days, causing the little fellow's constitution to undergo a total of 9 qualitative changes during those 7 days. Go to the nearby mountain range to find demonic beasts to gain experience. With your current cultivation and combat strength, you can find some Immortal King-level demonic beasts to be your opponents because you have mastered the Desolate Heaven Law. 7 days later, he said to Little Mukin, "Don't worry. On the path of cultivation, although the cultivation realm was the most important, actual combat was also very important. It could hone one's own combat strength and accumulate combat experience." Little Mukin nodded and asked, "Master, what about you?" "Master will be here, doing some other things." Lin Tian rubbed the little fellow's head and said, "Go. Don't be afraid during the battle. Master will always be watching you." "Okay." Little Mukin nodded and immediately walked outside. According to Lin Tian's request, he went to the nearby area to seek demonic beasts to gain experience. Lin Tian watched the little fellow leave and paused for a moment. Wisps of divine light shone in his eyes. Next, he muttered to himself, "Dissolving soul, earth, sky, memory, truth, stripping, and chaos reversal. He had read many ancient books in the sixth dimension, and some of them recorded the dimensional laws of the upper dimension. Dissolving soul, earth, sky, memory, truth, stripping, and chaos reversal were the other 6 seventh-dimensional laws in the seventh dimension, excluding the desolate heaven law. The dissolving soul law was similar to his reincarnation soul-slaying technique. It could directly penetrate the physical body and attack the spirit. At the same time, by controlling this law, the controller's spirit would be nourished by the dissolving soul law over time, becoming stronger and stronger until it was indestructible. The earth law controlled the earth. No matter where one was, one could freely mobilize the power of thousands of miles of territory for one's own use. It was incomparably powerful. The sky law controlled the sky. One could freely mobilize the power of the sky, turning the sky into the best battlefield for oneself. The memory law could use this law to turn everything in one's memory into reality, creating a law of creation. The stripping soul law could seize the power of others, weakening the enemy and strengthening oneself at the same time, carrying out a crushing massacre. The chaos reversal law could disrupt order, Tao, and all other forces. It could even interfere with the flow of time. Sitting cross-legged on the spot, he closed his eyes slightly. At this moment, he began to comprehend these 6 laws in this place. Time passed, and in the blink of an eye, 6 days had passed. Blue light intertwined around his body, causing his soul power to be at least 10 times stronger in an instant. Moreover, as time passed, it became more and more powerful. Dissolving soul. He closed his eyes and muttered to himself. In 6 days, he had mastered the dissolving soul law. Without opening his eyes, he continued to perfect the dissolving soul law while continuing to comprehend the other 5 seventh-dimensional laws. Time continued to pass. Beside him, the earth trembled slightly, the sky trembled slightly, and the air trembled in the blink of an eye. A month had passed. Chapter 2432. With the 7 seven-dimensional laws in his grasp, Lin Tian's aura was much stronger than it had been a month ago. His essence, energy, and spirit were even more intimidating. His eyes shone brightly as he nodded to himself. With the 7 seven-dimensional laws in his grasp, he could clearly feel that his combat strength had increased by a lot. "I need to perfect it," he muttered to himself, and did not get up. He closed his eyes and continued to comprehend the 7 seven-dimensional laws under his control. Now, of the 7 seven-dimensional laws he had mastered, other than the desolate heaven laws that he had mastered to the large success stage, he had only mastered the other 6 seven-dimensional laws. He had yet to cultivate them to the large success stage, so he needed to further deduce and comprehend them. As such, time passed, and in a blink of an eye, another month had passed. Another month later, his essence, energy, and spirit were even thicker. He had mastered all the 7-dimensional laws to the large success stage. Next, he still did not get up. A portion of his consciousness had fused into the 3-dimensional world in his body, transforming into a consciousness avatar. He imprinted the other 6 7-dimensional laws, excluding the desolate heaven laws, into the 3-dimensional world. Only after another month had passed was this matter considered complete. It made the 3-dimensional world clearly stronger. Very good. Looking at the 3-dimensional world he had created that was constantly strengthening, the light in his eyes intensified as he felt a sense of accomplishment. Following that, this portion of his consciousness returned to his sea of consciousness. He opened his eyes and stood up. After that, I will find some time to return to the 6th-dimensional world and master the 6 six-dimensional laws. I will then control space-time and karma and fuse them together. Among the dimensional laws of the 8-dimensional world, he still had the karma laws of the 4-dimensional world and the space-time laws of the 4-dimensional world, as well as the 6 types of 6-dimensional laws of the 6th-dimensional world that he had yet to master. To master them was an extremely simple matter for him now. He planned to find some time to return to these 2 worlds and master them together before integrating them into the 3-dimensional world. As for the 2-dimensional and 1-dimensional worlds below, he had never considered them. These 2 worlds did not have dimensional laws at all, and they did not even have dimensional hearts. This was because, fundamentally speaking, they could not be considered worlds, and they could not even be considered space. There was no life in them, and there was no time. It was very difficult for ordinary creatures to enter. He paused in his original spot and walked out of this place. He walked towards the southeast direction, and soon, he had walked far away and arrived in front of a depression. Roar! Clang! The roars of the demonic beasts and the ear-piercing hum of the sword reverberated in the concave ground. Outside little Mu Chen's body, sword beams appeared. Although his body was small, the sword aura he emitted was extremely astonishing. Furthermore, there were dark gray, desolate heaven dharma intertwining outside his body. One person was fighting against 9 ferocious beasts. Each beast had the combat strength of an immortal king. They were attacking little Mu Chen from 9 different directions. Moreover, even further away, there were other immortal king-level demonic beasts walking over. Some of them had crimson eyes, some radiating shocking demonic light. Little Mu Chen's body was stained with blood, and he was injured, but his little face was extremely determined. He was not afraid of the fierce beasts around him that wanted to devour him. Instead, the sword power he exuded became sharper than before. Lin Tian came to this place and silently watched the little guy train. He nodded to himself. He was only 6 years old. Although part of the reason why he was not afraid of these ferocious beasts was because of his hatred, it was more because of his powerful fighting instincts. Even though he was constantly injured in the face of a terrifying opponent, he was still fearless. As expected of a descendant of the desolate saint who has awakened his desolate heaven bloodline, he can be said to be born to fight, he muttered to himself. Boom! At this moment, an extremely strong vibration suddenly came from the extreme north of the world, interrupting his muttering. He tilted his head and sensed in that direction, frowning slightly. In that direction, he vaguely felt that there seemed to be a very terrifying aura coming out. However, that feeling only lasted for a moment. In the next moment, that terrifying aura faded again. He looked in that direction, and after a moment, he turned his head again, and his gaze continued to fall on little Mu Chen, who was training. At this time, there were already more than 20 Immortal King-level ferocious beasts attacking little Mu Chen together in the depression. The little guy's injuries had increased, and he was bleeding even more. However, his little face was still determined, and there was still no trace of fear. The clanging sound was endless. The little guy used the chaotic heaven sword scripture, and dense sword beams swept around like raindrops. Moreover, at the same time, the desolate heaven laws intertwined around him, defending and attacking at the same time. Lin Tian stood on the branch of a huge ancient tree, quietly watching the little guy fight. At the same time, the Reincarnation Heart Sutra automatically circulated, absorbing the surrounding saint spirit chi into his body and began to cultivate. Following the release of 6 layers of seals on his soul root and the control of all 7 types of laws in the 7th dimension, the speed at which he actively absorbed the saint spirit chi was obviously much faster than before. For a time, the surging saint spirit chi and the Tao of heaven and earth constantly surged into his body, causing his essence, energy, and spirit to increase bit by bit. Naturally, his cultivation also increased bit by bit. Time passed day by day. 1 day, 2 days, 3 days, he stood on the ancient tree branch, watching little Mu Chen while cultivating. His cultivation was approaching the middle stage of the Silent Void Realm. Outside of the 7th dimension, in the extreme north of the 7th dimension, the space was very barren. It was completely a vast desert with only some shrubs growing. In the desert, there were hundreds of figures living here. There were the current masters of the 7 top orthodoxies of the 7th dimension, as well as the important figures of other great sects and some extremely strong rogue cultivators. Hundreds of people lived here, looking at the area at the end of the desert that was filled with dark light, all of them frowning. The seal left by the desolate saint is weakening. There are extremely strong people from the 3 ancient clans attacking the seal outside. According to this trend, it won't be long before the seal is broken, and the 3 ancient clans, someone spoke with a solemn expression. This person did not finish his words, but in this place, Everyone knew what he was going to say. Once the seal left by the desolate saint in this place was broken, the three ancient clans would naturally come out. At that time, the seventh dimension would probably not be peaceful. The three ancient clans wanted to enslave all the living beings in this world and dominate this world. The three ancient clans were extremely tyrannical, and each of them had at least 10 seventh-dimensional experts. Moreover, most of them were at the peak of the seventh-dimensional realm. This kind of strength was not something that the cultivation world of the seventh dimension could resist. In the entire seventh dimension, the seven strongest orthodoxies only had one seventh-dimensional expert in each orthodoxy. Moreover, their cultivation was only at the early stage of the seventh-dimensional realm. As such, once the three ancient clans broke the seal and came out, they would definitely sweep across the seventh dimension. All the great sects and cultivators in the seventh dimension would either be slaughtered or be suppressed and turned into slaves. We are unable to complete the seal left by the desolate saint. If we continue to ignore it, the three ancient clans will soon break the seal and come out. One of them spoke. Now, there is only one way to stop them from coming out. This person said in a deep voice, with the flesh, soul, and origin of the descendant of the desolate saint who awakened the desolate heaven bloodline as a guide, we can strengthen the desolate saint seal and restore it to its strongest state. It might even become even more resilient. Perhaps we can use this to trap the three ancient clans in the forbidden ancient demon zone behind us forever. As soon as this was said, the eyes of everyone in this place moved slightly, and they all nodded. This method is indeed feasible, someone said in a deep voice. The others did not speak, but they all nodded in agreement. Their gazes fell on the dark area at the end of the desert. The seal left by the desolate saint was in that area. The forbidden ancient demon zone was behind the seal left by the desolate saint. For a moment, the place was quiet. After a while, a golden-robed, middle-aged man spoke, spread the news of this matter to the entire seventh dimension. Let everyone in the seventh dimension know the current situation our world is facing. Together, we will find the boy who awakened the desolate heaven bloodline. This middle-aged man was the leader of the Gantian divine sect. He was at the end of the silent soul realm. The Gantian divine sect was one of the 7 top orthodoxies in the seventh dimension. As this person spoke, the leaders of the other 6 top orthodoxies who came here nodded one after another. The other experts nodded in agreement. Yes, someone said. Then, on this day, millions of consciousness imprints were transmitted to the entire seventh dimension, causing the seventh dimension to be in an uproar. The seal there is about to break. How could this be? In the seventh dimension, the cultivators in the cultivation world were all shocked. According to the records in the ancient books, the 3 ancient clans sealed in the forbidden ancient demon zone were extremely terrifying. They were the source of disaster. Once the 3 ancient clans appeared, the seventh dimension would fall into darkness and blood would flow like rivers. All living beings in the seventh dimension would either be killed or enslaved. There was no third possibility. There is still a remedy. Find the descendant of the desolate saint who awakened the desolate heaven bloodline. That person can strengthen the seal. Many cultivators in various regions began to move. Clang! In the seventh dimension, in the concave ground, a sharp sword whistled and the desolate heaven laws surged. Little Mu Chun condensed the divine light sword, and the desolate heaven laws vibrated. At this time, they faced 50 immortal king-level beasts together. Lin Tian stood in the distance, cultivating and watching quietly. In the blink of an eye, half a month had passed. On this day, a roar came from his body and a tyrannical saint energy intertwined. At this moment, his cultivation had reached the middle stage of the Silent Void realm from the early stage of the Silent Void realm. He was very calm about this and was not surprised. This was because after controlling all the seventh dimension laws and integrating them into the third dimension, his cultivation was not far from the middle stage of the Silent Void realm. After half a month of serious cultivation, he naturally stepped into the middle stage of the Silent Void realm. He still stood on the branch of the ancient tree and sorted out his current cultivation realm. After 6 hours, he stopped and completely stabilized his cultivation at the middle stage of the Silent Void realm. Roar! Chapter 2433. The ferocious beast was about 10 feet tall. It came from afar, and its majestic demonic aura suppressed little Mu Chun to the point that he could not move. After all, little Mu Chun was only at the gold immortal realm. Compared to this ferocious beast, he was too weak. When Lin Tian saw this scene, he moved immediately. With a flash, he appeared in front of little Mu Chun, protecting him behind him. He immediately conjured his desolate heaven laws and slapped the 100-foot-tall beast, sending it flying tens of thousands of feet away. Master! Little Mu Chun could move again. When he saw Lin Tian, who had suddenly appeared, he felt much more relaxed. The situation just now was really a dead end. If Lin Tian had not appeared in time, he would definitely have died. Lin Tian smiled and rubbed the little guy's head. The majestic pressure caused the other Immortal King-level ferocious beasts in the concave ground to lie down, not daring to move. Let's stop here for the time being. It's also necessary to rest properly. Little Mu Chun had been training in this place for nearly 3 months. His gold immortal realm cultivation had been completely stabilized, and his essence, chi, and spirit had become extremely condensed. He could easily feel it. Now, he felt that the little guy should not continue to cultivate for the time being. After all, the little guy was still a little young, and high-intensity cultivation was not suitable for him. He took little Mu Chun out of the concave ground and walked to the outside world, ready to take the little guy for a simple walk to relax. Soon, he walked out of the immortal mountain and appeared in the outside world, walking on a main road. There was no one else on the main road, only him and the little guy for the time being. Then, gradually, the figures of cultivators appeared in the distance. A large group of cultivators gathered together, talking as they walked, as if they were looking for something. They walked in his direction. Found it. There were dozens of cultivators in the distance, and their essence, chi, and spirit were not weak. The next moment, they saw Lin Tian and little Mu Chun. All of them were moved, and their eyes fell on little Mu Chun. Everyone's eyes could not help but shine. At this time, when they looked at little Mu Chun, they felt as if they were drowning people who saw a life-saving boat. Immediately, a group of people rushed over and grabbed little Mu Chun. They even ignored Lin Tian, who was beside little Mu Chun. Lin Tian's expression darkened. A hurricane erupted from his body and pushed back the dozens of people who were charging at him. What are you doing? These dozens of people were clearly not the 7 cultivators from the Blood Demon Hall who had destroyed little Mu Chen's family. Furthermore, they did not have the greed for the desolate heaven bloodline in their eyes. Hence, he did not directly kill them. Instead, he used his aura to repel them. What are you doing? Dozens of cultivators were forced back. One of them, a skinny man, angrily shouted. The other cultivators also glared at Lin Tian. What am I doing? Lin Tian's expression darkened. You attacked my disciple in front of me. Instead of answering my question, you're questioning me? Your disciple? He is the descendant of the desolate saint. Since when was he your disciple? You want to steal his bloodline? The 7th dimension is in danger. Why are you still only thinking about yourself? Some time ago, Lin Tian had saved little Mu Chun and killed many people from the Blood Demon Hall and the other 6 major forces. However, the news did not spread too far. Hence, in the entire 7th dimension, very few people knew about it. Those who knew about Lin Tian were even fewer. The 7th dimension is in danger? Lin Tian frowned. Stop pretending. The skinny man among the dozens of people scolded. He immediately sent out a consciousness imprint about the impending breaking of the seal of the 3 ancient clans in the forbidden ancient demon domain. The news has spread throughout the 7th dimension. Do you dare say that you don't know about this? In the consciousness imprint, the image of the seal loosening in the forbidden ancient demon domain was intertwined. It was also mixed with a solemn voice, saying that the seal used by the desolate saint to suppress the 3 ancient clans was about to break. When that time came, the entire seventh dimension would be plunged into misery and suffering. Only the blood essence, soul, and origin of the descendants of the desolate saint who had awakened the desolate heaven bloodline could stabilize the seal and avoid the calamity in the seventh dimension. It called on all the cultivators in the seventh dimension to quickly find the descendants of the desolate saint who had awakened the desolate heaven bloodline to strengthen the seal. Lin Tian's expression instantly turned cold. He swept his gaze across the dozens of people again, as if he was looking at corpses. In the past, the desolate saint had risked his life to protect the seventh dimension and sealed the 3 ancient clans that were wreaking havoc in the seventh dimension. In this life, the descendant of the desolate saint, Little Mu Chun, was targeted by the Blood Demon Hall and other major forces because he had awakened the desolate heaven bloodline. In order to seize the desolate heaven bloodline and control the desolate heaven law, those major forces directly exterminated Little Mu Chen's family and killed Old Man Zhou, who had always accompanied Little Mu Chen. Throughout the entire process, countless cultivators from various forces in the seventh dimension knew about this, but none of them extended a helping hand to Little Mu Chen, the descendant of the desolate saint. They completely turned a blind eye to this matter. And now, because the seal left behind by the desolate saint to suppress the 3 ancient clans was about to be broken, the vast seventh dimension was the first to think of using the blood essence, soul, and origin of the descendant of the desolate saint, Little Mu Chun, to repair the seal to ensure their safety and to ensure that they would not be slaughtered and enslaved by the 3 ancient clans when the seal was broken. How ugly was that? You. Meeting Lin Tian's gaze, the dozens of people trembled for no reason, as if a knife was placed on their necks. You? What kind of gaze is that? The skinny man shouted. This is the decision of the entire cultivation world in the seventh dimension. Do you have any objections? You have no right to object. The one who sealed the 3 ancient clans is the desolate saint. Now that the seal is about to be broken, it is only right for the descendant of the desolate saint to complete and strengthen it. Yes. The others echoed. Lin Tian's expression became even colder. Scram! Immediately! Immediately! The dozens of people were shocked and angry when they heard this. You want to go against the entire seventh dimension? Who do you think you are? Hand him over. No need to talk nonsense with him. Do it. The dozens of people spoke and pressed forward again. Moreover, someone sent out a divine sense imprint to inform the other cultivators nearby. Rumble. The dozens of people, all of whom were in the silent void realm, combined together, their attack was very powerful. Looking at the dozens of people, Lin Tian did not say anything else. The sword rays around his body intertwined and clanged as they directly swept out. In an instant, the dozens of people were enveloped and exploded one after another. In the blink of an eye, they were all destroyed in body and soul. This place became quiet in an instant. Little Mu Chun pulled on the corner of Lin Tian's clothes. Master. The little guy also saw the divine sense imprint just now. Now he was targeted by the entire seventh dimension. Even the 7 top orthodoxies of the Heaven Sky God sect were no exception. It was far more dangerous than when he was targeted by the Blood Demon Hall and the other major forces. Under such circumstances, if his master wanted to protect him, he would be involved in such a crisis and become the common enemy of the seventh dimension. Lin Tian looked at the little guy. From the little guy's eyes, he could see that the little guy did not consider his own dangerous situation and was completely worried about him. Master, if Xiao Chun can help the entire seventh dimension avoid the disaster, it is worth it to let Xiao Chun go. Master will not be targeted by those people because of Xiao Chun. The little guy pulled on the corner of Lin Tian's clothes and said, After Xiao Chun is gone, Master, can you help Xiao Chun to avenge Grandpa Zhou and the others? Lin Tian was moved. Little Mu Chun was only 6 years old, about 3 months away from 7 years old. A child who was not even 7 years old, knowing that the seventh dimension was about to suffer a catastrophe and that he could sacrifice himself to prevent it, actually said such words at this time. This sense of responsibility and dedication on this young fellow made him feel a burst of heartache. He squatted down and rubbed the little guy's head. Don't think too much. You have no obligation to do anything for the living beings of this world. You don't owe them anything. Only they owe you and your ancestors. He said, you don't have to worry about Master. This seventh dimension is nothing in Master's eyes. Master will protect you. The seventh dimensional sky is nothing in your eyes. Your tone is quite big. Aren't you afraid of biting your tongue? A cold voice sounded. In the distance, a dozen figures came from several different directions, each of them exuding an extremely tyrannical aura. Moreover, after these dozen people, more figures came from the distant sky. In the blink of an eye, hundreds of people had gathered. This group of people was originally in the vicinity, but because of the divine sense imprint left by one of the dozens of people killed by Lin Tian, they had rushed here. That divine sense imprint mentioned that little Mu Chan was in this place. You're the person who saved Desolate Saint some time ago? The first person to step here was an elder of the Gantian divine sect. His cultivation was at the early stage of the Silent Soul stage. He knew that Lin Tian had saved little Mu Chun. At this time, he looked at little Mu Chun who was beside Lin Tian. Hand him over. This is for the entire seventh dimension. His death can resolve the upcoming catastrophe of the seventh dimension and save countless living beings. Compared to the entire seventh dimension, which is more important? I think I don't need to say more. You should understand. Another person spoke. He was an elder of the Lucian sacred sect and was also at the early stage of the Silent Soul stage. The Lucian sacred sect and the Gantian divine sect were on par in strength. They were also one of the 7 top orthodoxies in the seventh dimension. The other 5 top orthodoxies were the Baishao Pavilion, Taifeng Dao sect, Heaven's Fate House, Immortal Slaughtering Treasure Temple, and the Jin family of the wilderness. At this time, among the dozen people who first came here, there were naturally experts from the top orthodoxies. Hand him over. The living beings of the world are the most important. Sacrificing him alone can exchange for the peace of the entire seventh dimension. This can be considered a great fortune in the midst of misfortune. The other hundreds of cultivators who came here were all from various heritage sections. At this time, they spoke one after another. Lin Tian's eyes were cold as he looked at these people. Without any superfluous words, the desolate heaven laws boiled and condensed into a desolate heaven divine sword. He directly slashed at these people. The surging desolate heaven aura immediately shrouded everyone. It was too ugly. It was too dirty. Chapter 2434. The dark gray, desolate heaven laws surged as sword beams filled the sky, enveloping the entire space. Only a few solitary god experts and solitary soul experts were able to withstand this wave of attack and did not suffer any harm. Desolate heaven laws? When they looked at Lin Tian again, the expressions of all the people who were still alive in this place changed drastically. Lin Tian had mastered the desolate heaven laws? You took away his desolate heaven bloodline? A Cosmos Divine Sect elder looked at little Mu Chun behind Lin Tian, then looked at Lin Tian. His pupils could not help but shrink. Lin Tian did not say anything. The desolate heaven godly sword in his hand vibrated as he slashed out again. The sword beam that was imbued with the desolate heaven laws whizzed out in all directions. At the same time, outside his body, the soul-dissolving law, earth law, sky law, memory law, plundering law, and chaos reversal law appeared at the same time, causing the earth to tremble, the sky to tremble, and the void to become chaotic. Endless strange phenomena were born together, enveloping everyone. This is... How? Impossible? Everyone's expression changed immediately. Lin Tian had conjured all the seventh dimension laws of the seventh dimension. How was this possible? Since ancient times, as long as someone could control a single seventh dimensional law, it would be enough to shock the world. But now, Lin Tian alone could control all the seventh dimensional laws. Even the solitary soul experts from the 7 top orthodoxies, including the Heavenly Heaven sect, were shocked and frightened. A person who mastered all the seventh dimension laws. Was this a human? Lin Tian's eyes were cold. With a slight thought, 5 fifth-dimension laws intertwined with the 7 seventh-dimension laws, and together with them, they pressed forward. The majestic killing power immediately sealed every inch of the void in all directions, suppressing everything. Puff! Puff! Pooh! Bloody mists exploded one after another. Among the 7 seventh-dimensional laws, the law of plunder weakened everyone's battle prowess and aura, but in turn strengthened Lin Tian's own strength. Coupled with the addition of the law of indestructibility and the reincarnation forging spirit art, Lin Tian's attack was terrifying to the extreme. In the blink of an eye, everyone below the Silent Soul realm was wiped out, leaving only a dozen or so Silent Soul experts from the Heaven Sky sect and the other top orthodoxies. You? The dozen or so people looked at Lin Tian in horror. Their cultivations were clearly much higher than Lin Tian's, but at this moment, their eyes were filled with fear. The Lin Tian at this moment shocked them. Don't be afraid. Even though he has grasped all the laws of the 7th dimension, he is still only at the middle stage of the Silent Void realm. We are all at the Silent Soul realm, so we don't need to be afraid of him, a Silent Soul realm elder from the flowing immortal sacred sect said. The Silent Soul realm was 2 realms higher than the solitary void realm. Yes, that's right. He has grasped all the laws of the 7th dimension. Then, the reason why he grasped the desolate heaven laws is not because he sees the bloodline of the desolate saint's descendant. He must have grasped it himself. Let's work together to kill him. Then take away the desolate saint's descendant to strengthen the seal. Kill. The Heavenly Heaven Divine sect and a few other top orthodoxies agreed. They immediately used all their strength and cooperated with each other to suppress Lin Tian. Lin Tian, who had grasped all 7 kinds of laws of the 7th dimension at the same time, shocked them. However, in terms of cultivation, they were 2 realms higher than Lin Tian. Thinking about it carefully, with such a huge difference in cultivation, even if Lin Tian had grasped all the laws of the 7th dimension, he would definitely not be their match. Boom! At that moment, the void here was annihilated piece by piece. The space where Lin Tian was directly suppressed. Lin Tian stood in the same spot and did not move at all. Looking at these people closing in, his eyes were extremely cold. If I miss today, I will destroy all of your orthodoxies, he said coldly. At this moment, he truly felt angry. Little Mu Chen's ancestor protected the 7th dimension with his life, but no one in the 7th dimension was grateful. Instead, they repaid kindness with enmity time and time again. Such an ugly and dirty attitude filled him with murderous intent. 7 kinds of laws of the 7th dimension and 5 kinds of laws of the 5th dimension were put away. He shook the 3-dimensional world in his body and condensed the sword of heaven and earth. Clang! Holding the sword of heaven and earth, he raised his hand and slashed down. Today's 3-dimensional world had long become stronger. Under the situation where he condensed the sword of heaven and earth with the vigorous power of the 3-dimensional world, and with his current cultivation of the middle stage of the Silent Void realm, the power of this sword could almost cut through everything. With a sizzling sound, the magical powers and secret techniques of the dozens of powerhouses were annihilated at once. Then the 7 people who rushed at the front steadily met this sword and were directly hit by this sword. Ah! Miserable screams were heard as 7 bloody mists exploded. The 7 people, without exception, were all destroyed in the first moment. For a moment, the other 9 people who were still alive in this place could not help but tremble. Wasn't that a Silent Soul level precious weapon? These people were once again horrified. They knew about some of the encounters in the Blood Demon Palace. They knew that Lin Tian seemed to have a Silent Soul level sacred sword. However, now, seeing the light sword in Lin Tian's hand and Lin Tian's sword kill 7 Silent Soul level powerhouses with the cultivation of the Silent Void realm, their hearts violently twitched. How could this only be a Silent Soul level precious weapon? The 9 people trembled and staggered back. Then they all fled into the distance. Their faces were all pale with fear. Lin Tian's eyes were cold. Without any unnecessary movements, he raised his hand and slashed again. With a clang, the sword of heaven and earth condensed the extremely thick power of the three realms of heaven and earth. He used it to activate the 9 swords of reincarnation. 9 beams of sword light shot out from the sword and immediately swept towards the 9 people. In the next moment, bloody mists exploded along with screams. 8 of them died in the blink of an eye, leaving only 1 person alive. Don't kill me. This person trembled. Lin Tian's eyes were cold. He walked towards this person and directly imprisoned him. He deliberately left this person alive for the time being because he wanted to find something from this person's sea of consciousness. The divine sense of the origins sank into this person's sea of consciousness and soon retreated. This person was an elder of the Qian Tian sect. He was suppressed by Lin Tian and trembled. Little brothers spare. Puff. Lin Tian shook the sword of heaven and earth in his hand and directly destroyed this person's body and soul. Qin Tian sect, Lucian's sacred sect, Baishao Pavilion, Taifeng Daoist sect, Tianming House, Immortal Slaughtering Treasure Temple. His eyes were cold. From the person's sea of consciousness, he found the locations of the 7 top orthodoxies in this world. At the same time, he also found the locations of the other inheritances who wanted to capture little Mu-chan to complete the seal. Later, he would destroy these shameless and ugly inheritances one by one. They had no value in existing. This place was much quieter at this time. He put away the sword of heaven and earth and pulled little Mu-chan away from this place. Not long after, he took little Mu-chan into an extraordinary divine mountain. Inside the divine mountain, the Holy Spirit Qi was extremely rich and extraordinary. However, it was a bit remote and could be said to be inaccessible. Master, little Mu-chan has caused you a lot of trouble. Little Mu-chan lowered his head, and his voice seemed to be very soft. Although the little guy was only 6 years old, after experiencing the destruction of his family, he had matured like an adult. These days, first it was the Blood Demon Palace and the other 7 great forces, and then the entire 7th-dimension heaven. Lin Tian had always been the one to deal with them for him. This made the 6-year-old little guy feel very guilty. Little guy, don't think too much. Lin Tian rubbed the little guy's head. Your grandmaster once said that it is his responsibility as a master to not let his disciple die in front of him. If it were me, it would be the same. It is also my responsibility as a master to not let you die in front of me. We are master and disciple. There is no need to say that I have caused trouble for my master. Thank you, master. Little Mu-chan's eyes fluctuated and he choked with sobs. Then, he quickly wiped away his tears and looked up at Lin Tian. Master, do you also have a master? What kind of person is your grandmaster? Is he very powerful? Lin Tian rubbed the little guy's head and smiled. Your grandmaster is the greatest person, the most powerful person. He is the pride of our lineage. After so many years, he also missed an old drunkard. Without an old drunkard, he would not be who he was today. In his heart, an old drunkard was more important than his parents. When little Mu-chan heard Lin Tian's words, his eyes couldn't help but light up. He wanted to see his grandmaster immediately. Lin Tian naturally saw through the little guy's thoughts and said, You can't see him now, but you will in the future. After saying that, he propped up a part of the 3-dimensional world. This is the real world under Master's control. You can go in and cultivate. Master will also need to go into seclusion for a while. Now, the entire cultivation world of the 7th-dimensional world wanted to capture little Mu-chan and use him as a sacrifice to repair the desolate sage seal that was about to break. Facing such a huge 7th-dimensional world, his current cultivation was not enough to deal with it. After all, the strongest in the 7th-dimensional world was the existence of the 7th-dimensional world. With his current silent space realm cultivation, even if he controlled all the laws of the 7th-dimensional world and had the support of the 3-dimensional world, he was definitely not a match for a 7th-dimensional world expert. Under such circumstances, he needed to go into seclusion for a period of time and raise his cultivation to the solitary god realm at least. With his solitary god realm cultivation and the help of the 3-dimensional world, he would be able to kill a seventh-dimensional world expert. At that time, he would not be afraid of the seventh-dimensional world. Little Mu Chun was very obedient. He nodded seriously after hearing Lin Tian's words and took the initiative to step into the three-dimensional world. Lin Tian smiled and put away the three-dimensional world. He set up a large formation to conceal his aura and then sat down cross-legged at the center of the formation and actively operated the Reincarnation Heart Sutra. Chapter 2435. Unsealing the sixth-layer soul root allowed him to control all the laws of the seventh dimension. Now, Lin Tian's speed of absorbing the Holy Spirit Qi was undoubtedly very fast. In the blink of an eye, he was drowned in the surging Holy Spirit Qi, and his cultivation realm increased bit by bit. This speed of improvement was very obvious. If other cultivators were to see this, they would all be shocked. And the most important thing for this improvement was not the density of the Holy Spirit Qi that he attracted, but his own potential and comprehension ability. After all, on the path of cultivation, more than 90% of the increase in cultivation realm relied on one's own potential and comprehension ability of all things in the world. Spiritual energy and Taoist force did not even account for 10%. It was also because of this that under the same conditions of spiritual energy, some people's cultivation realm would improve very quickly, while others would find it difficult to improve their cultivation realm. However, although spiritual energy was only a small part of the increase in cultivation realm, it was impossible to lack spiritual energy. Without spiritual energy, no matter how strong one's potential was, they would not be able to increase their cultivation realm. Potential and spiritual energy and Taoist force, the two of them complemented each other on the path of cultivation. 1. The Reincarnation Heart Sutra circulated, and a faint nine-colored holy light intertwined, becoming stronger and stronger. He closed his eyes slightly. After unsealing the sixth-layer soul root, his comprehension ability of all things in the world was extremely strong. Many problems on the path of cultivation could be solved in the blink of an eye. Coupled with the dense spiritual energy of the seventh dimension, his cultivation realm increased rapidly. Outside the sacred mountain in the seventh dimension cultivation world, did you find him? The desolate Saint Seal is even more unstable. At most, it can last for half a year. We must quickly find a descendant of the desolate saint. That descendant of the desolate saint, I saw that kind of divine sense imprint. Why is he hiding now? Damn it, bastard. The seal set by the ancestor is about to break, but as a descendant, he is hiding at this time. How irresponsible. Find him quickly. Otherwise, the seventh dimension will be in great trouble. We will either die or be enslaved. We can't let that happen. Find him quickly. In the cultivation world, countless cultivators were looking for little Mu Chun in different corners. Some of the important figures of the various great sects in this world also walked out and began to move. Inside the sacred mountain in the seventh dimension, Lin Tian sat cross-legged on the ground, circulating the Reincarnation Heart Sutra and cultivating seriously. In the blink of an eye, 3 months had passed. Boom! 3 months later, on top of the divine mountain, a huge lightning vortex intertwined and formed. The oppressive power of the lightning was extremely frightening. Darkness instantly shrouded the space in all directions, and a destructive aura came down from the sky. It was also at this time that Lin Tian opened his eyes, 2 rays of light flashing in his eyes. 3 months later, he had entered the solitary god realm from the mid-still void realm and had attracted solitary god heavenly tribulation. Boom! Thunder rumbled, and the destructive aura became even thicker. Lin Tiantan stared coldly at the lightning vortex in the sky. He didn't move and continued to undergo his tribulation. The Holy Spirit Qi in the sacred mountain was very dense, but because it was located in a remote area, there was not even a single demonic beast inside. There was no need to worry about transcending the tribulation here. Thunder boomed, and then the thunder punishment fell one after another. Time passed little by little, and it wasn't until nearly 4,000 rounds of the main lightning punishment had fallen that the lightning punishment dissipated. The seven-colored auspicious clouds condensed, and Lin Tian used them to consolidate his current solitary god realm, and at the same time, to temper his flesh and blood. Soon, the seven-colored auspicious clouds dissipated, and he truly stood in the solitary god realm. His essence, chi, spirit, and combat strength had been greatly improved. In this place, the sacred mountain was half destroyed, and the soil was scorched black. He didn't stop and directly left this place. After leaving this place, he stepped into the outside world and saw the entire cultivation world. Countless cultivators were searching for little Mu Chun. Many people even cursed little Mu Chun for hiding at this time, saying that the little guy had disgraced the reputation of his ancestors. "It's you, the person who saved the descendant of the desolate saint." He walked in the cultivation world and headed towards the Heaven God sect. Soon, he was recognized, and someone pointed at him in surprise. He had saved little Mu Chun from the powerhouses of the Blood Demon Hall, the Great Moon Family, and the Ghost Lock City. Although that matter hadn't spread throughout the entire seventh dimension, many people in the seventh dimension knew about it. Immediately, a group of cultivators surrounded him. "Where is the descendant of the desolate saint? Hand him over." The seal that the desolate saint left behind to suppress the three ferocious clans is about to be broken. If the three clans are allowed to escape, a great disaster will befall our seventh dimension. Countless creatures will die tragically. Even if they survive, they will be enslaved. Do you know the seriousness of the matter? Only by using the descendant of the desolate saint to strengthen the seal can we avoid it. We're asking you a question. Answer. Where is the descendant of the desolate saint? Tell us quickly. A group of people shouted and even surrounded Lin Tian. Lin Tian stared coldly at these people. The holy aura around his body fluctuated, turning into countless sword rays that swayed in all directions. In this place, everyone was enveloped by the sword rays that he had summoned and were all cut into pieces. Everyone was instantly destroyed in body and spirit. It wasn't that he was cruel, but that these people didn't deserve to be called humans. They had no value in living. A group of bastards that were worse than pigs and dogs. Blood was scattered in this place. He didn't stay here and walked in the direction he had set. Time flew by, and 7 days passed quickly. 7 days later, he arrived at a vast group of celestial mountains. Looking around, there were palaces and celestial pavilions in the celestial mountains, intertwined with the holy spiritual chi, which was extremely terrifying. It was the place where the Gantian divine sect was established, one of the 7 top orthodoxies in the 7th dimension. Arriving here, he didn't stop and went straight inside. Soon, he arrived in front of the main gate of the Gantian divine sect. Who is it? In front of the main gate of the Gantian divine sect, a disciple guarding the gate saw Lin Tian and scolded coldly. Then, the next moment, he recognized Lin Tian and was shocked. "It's you, the one who saved the descendant of the desolate saint." The Gantian divine sect was powerful and naturally knew many things about the 7th dimension. They knew that Lin Tian had saved little Mu Chun from the experts of the Blood Demon Hall and other major forces. They all knew about Lin Tian. Take him down. Find the trace of the descendant of the desolate saint. In front of the main gate of the Gantian divine sect, dozens of disciples guarding the gate immediately attacked Lin Tian. Lin Tian took a step forward without any change in his footsteps. A majestic pressure naturally spread out from his body. For a moment, blood mist splattered, and the people who rushed forward all died tragically. He took another step, and the sword radiance outside his body appeared again, turning into a rain of swords. The first thing he did was to smash the main gate of the Gantian divine sect into pieces. The place was filled with sand and dust as he stepped straight in. When he really stepped into the Gantian divine sect, the holy spiritual chi in the sect was far thicker than the outside world. It was like a holy spiritual realm. "It's you. How dare you be so presumptuous in my Gantian divine sect? Where is the descendant of the desolate saint? You were the one who saved him. Hand over the descendant of the desolate saint." Within the Gantian divine sect, The disciples of this faction were shocked and angry because Lin Tian had barged into the Gantian divine sect. At the same time, they also recognized Lin Tian. Immediately, a group of people rushed forward and ordered Lin Tian to hand over the descendant of the desolate saint, little Mu Chun. Lin Tian didn't say anything to these people. The majestic aura outside his body shook, and the dense sword radiance spread out. Clang! The ear-piercing sword whistled. With his current cultivation of the solitary god realm, he directly sent a large number of Gantian divine sect disciples flying. Moreover, the treasured halls and divine pavilions of the Gantian divine sect around him were also destroyed. "How dare you!" With a furious roar, the sect leader and the grand elders of this faction stepped out one after another. Immediately, the sect leader of this faction attacked, directly suppressing Lin Tian. In the blink of an eye, he arrived in front of Lin Tian. Lin Tian leaned to the side, avoiding the attack of the sect leader of Gantian divine sect. He grabbed the other party's wrist, and a majestic pressure spread out, suppressing the other party. The sect leader of Gantian divine sect was moved. "You pa!" Lin Tian's eyes were cold. He raised his other hand and directly slapped the other party's face. The sect leader of Gantian divine sect was instantly shocked and furious. He was the sect leader of Gantian divine sect, but now Lin Tian had actually slapped him in front of all the disciples of the sect. "How dare you, pa!" Lin Tian flipped his hand, and another slap landed on the other party's face, giving out a crisp slap. It brought out a large amount of blood, and there were even teeth within. Sect leader. Within the Gantian divine sect, the expressions of all the Gantian divine sect disciples changed. Their sect leader was a solitary soul realm expert, but now he was actually easily suppressed by Lin Tian, who had barged into the sect. Moreover, he had been slapped twice in a row. "You're courting death." The 10 grand elders of this faction all had cold expressions. They all moved at the first moment, suppressing Lin Tian together. More than 10 people, all of them at the solitary soul realm, attacked together, and the intertwining aura surged to the extreme. Lin Tian's eyes were cold as he suppressed the sect leader of Gantian divine sect with one hand. He didn't move at all, and the desolate heaven law boiled. Then the earth law, the sky law, and the other 6 seven-dimensional laws appeared together, spreading out towards the 10 people. The 10 people immediately turned pale. "You, poo, poo, poo." A mist of blood spurted out. The dozen or so silent soul stage grand elders of this faction were all shattered in the first instant. Desolate heaven, earth, sky, chaotic reversal, peeling, memory, truth, dissolving soul. How is this possible? In the Gantian divine sect, the other disciples' faces all changed, and they couldn't help but tremble. At this moment, they even temporarily forgot about the 10 grand elders of their faction whose bodies had been shattered. The 7 seventh-dimensional laws of the 7th-dimensional sky had now appeared on Lin Tian's body at the same time. Lin Tian, alone, controlled all the 7th-dimensional laws. Even the sect leader of Gantian divine sect, who was suppressed, had a huge change in expression at this moment, and his eyes were filled with horror. After being suppressed by Lin Tian, when he looked at Lin Tian, the anger in his eyes had disappeared and was replaced by shock. One person controlled all the 7th-dimensional laws of the 7th-dimensional sky. What kind of concept was this? Since ancient times, when had anyone ever done such a thing in the history of the 7th-dimensional sky? Chapter 2436. Since the existence of the 7th dimension, there had never been such a person who could control all the laws of the 7th dimension. But now, it had appeared. The experts of the Gantian god sect were all shocked as they looked at Lin Tian. They were all frightened and couldn't help but tremble. How the dozen or so grand elders of this branch were horrified. Lin Tian's eyes were cold as the 7 laws of the 7th dimension boiled and swept out in all directions with him as the center. In an instant, the ancient buildings in the Gantian god sect collapsed, and the disciples were sent flying one by one. The dozens of grand elders of the sect each supported a majestic saint aura to block the 7 laws of the 7th dimension. However, It was useless. The 7 laws of the 7th dimension combined together was simply too shocking. It was unstoppable and annihilated everything. The Gantian God sect leader was suppressed by Lin Tian. When he saw the disciples of his sect dying one after another and the many important ancient halls in the sect collapsing one by one, he was horrified and furious. Damn it, stop! Lin Tian suppressed the person with his hand. The 7 laws of the 7th dimension gathered and turned into a killing light that swept out from his hand. With a puff, the current master of the Gantian God sect was instantly shattered into pieces and his body and soul were destroyed. Previously, he had searched the sea of consciousness of an elder of the Gantian God sect and learned about the locations of many inheritances in the 7th dimension. At the same time, he also learned that the first person to ask everyone in the 7th dimension to find little Mu Chun to strengthen the seal was this person. Sect leader. The disciples of the Gantian God sect trembled. The dozens of grand elders of the sect were also shocked and furious. The current master of their faction had actually been killed by Lin Tian, who had barged into their sect in their own territory. Lin Tian's expression didn't change at all. He was cold as he walked deeper into the Gantian God sect. The 7 laws of the 7th dimension intertwined around him. Wherever he passed, the space around him turned into a destructive abyss. Puff, puff, puff. The disciples of the Gantian God sect collapsed and died tragically. Moreover, the halls and treasure pavilions collapsed one after another. Gantian God sect's dozens of grand elders and some other disciples tried their best to block, but they couldn't. Although Lin Tian's cultivation was only at the solitary soul realm, after unsealing the 6th layer of his soul root, he could easily kill a solitary soul realm expert with just his combat strength alone, not to mention that he also controlled 7 types of 7-dimensional laws at the same time. Within the huge Gantian God sect, no one could stop Lin Tian's footsteps. Lin Tian took a step forward. With every step he took, a bloody mist would explode, and with every step he took, a large number of palaces would collapse. Boom! Suddenly, in the depths of Gantian God sect, a vast saint energy spread out, suppressing the 7 7-dimensional laws that Lin Tian summoned. It protected the 10 grand elders and the other Gantian God sect disciples and deacons. An old man stepped out from the depths of the Gantian God sect and arrived before them in the blink of an eye. Old ancestor. Gantian God sect's dozens of grand elders looked at the old man who suddenly appeared and couldn't help but be pleasantly surprised. At the same time, the other disciples and deacons were also pleasantly surprised. At this moment, they couldn't help but relax. This was because the old ancestor of their sect was at the 7th dimensional realm. With such a cultivation as support, even if Lin Tian controlled 7 types of 7-dimensional laws at the same time, he definitely wouldn't be his opponent. After all, the difference in cultivation was too great. Old ancestor, sect leader was a deacon clenched his teeth and looked at Lin Tian in shock and anger. This person didn't finish speaking, but the old ancestor of Gantian God sect naturally knew what he meant. Moreover, he also sensed that the sect leader's aura had completely disappeared. However, the old ancestor didn't care about this at all. His gaze was still cold and somewhat deep. Grasping all 7-dimensional laws, you're not bad. Not bad at all? Looking at Lin Tian, the old ancestor of Gantian God sect spoke. This old man cherishes talent and will give you a chance. Join my Gantian God sect, and this old man will pardon your crime of trespassing today. I won't kill you. Of course, there are still some restrictions that need to be placed on you. The old ancestor said coldly. Also, hand over the descendant of the desolate saint. You should know where that boy you saved is. Grasping all 7 7-dimensional laws at the same time, such a person was no doubt world-shaking. If he could join the Gantian God sect, he would definitely be able to develop the sect to an unimaginable height in the future. And because such a world-shaking person was an enemy from the start, it was natural to place some restrictions when recruiting him. Otherwise, if he betrayed them in the future, it would be a disaster. The old ancestor of Gantian God sect was very clear about this point. Therefore, when he wanted Lin Tian to submit and join the Gantian God sect, he also requested for some special restrictions to be placed on Lin Tian. Looking at Lin Tian, he said, "How is it?" Test. Clang. An ear-piercing sword cry resounded. In Lin Tian's hand, the three-dimensional power of heaven and earth quickly condensed into a sword of heaven and earth. The swift and fierce sword aura rushed towards the old ancestor of Gantian God sect. Wherever it passed, the void was destroyed. The old ancestor's expression changed instantly. He was shocked by the power of the sword and hurriedly raised a thick defensive light screen to block it. However, the power of the sword was far beyond his imagination. Chi! With a soft sound, the defensive light screen raised by the seventh-dimensional powerhouse of the Gantian God sect was instantly shattered. Then, the sword aura didn't decrease and directly landed on his body. With a puff, blood splattered everywhere. The seventh-dimensional powerhouse was pierced through and flew away in a sorry state. Old ancestor. Everyone in the Gantian God sect was shocked. Their ancestor, an existence at the seventh-dimensional realm and one of the seven hegemons of the seventh-dimensional realm, had been injured by a mere solitary god realm cultivator with a single strike. How is this possible? Almost at the same time, the sword cry resounded again. Lin Tian's eyes were cold. He didn't show any mercy. Holding the sword of heaven and earth, he swung it again. In an instant, a rain of swords appeared and slashed in all directions. Immediately, the bloody mist exploded and the palaces collapsed one after another. The aura of destruction enveloped the surroundings. Ah! An ear-piercing scream was heard. A grand elder of this sect was hit by the sword light and turned into a blood mist. His body and soul were destroyed. How could a solitary soul cultivator block the sword of heaven and earth formed by the three-dimensional power of heaven and earth? You're courting death. The seventh-dimensional old ancestor stabilized his body. He was shocked and angry. He immediately used a power of order to suppress Lin Tian. Lin Tian raised his hand and shattered everything with a simple slash. With a puff, the old ancestor was pierced through once again and flew away. He crashed through dozens of palaces before stopping. Lin Tian walked from the edge of the Gantian God sect into the depths of the sect. Holding the sword of heaven and earth, 7 types of seventh-dimensional laws revolved around him. Everywhere he passed, people would die tragically. The old ancestor stabilized his body once again. He was even more shocked and angry. He was shocked because he had already used his power of order and displayed his strongest battle strength. However, he was still instantly defeated and injured by Lin Tian. He was shocked because the light sword in Lin Tian's hand was truly terrifying. He was angry because Lin Tian was wantonly destroying the Gantian God sect. Bastard! With a low roar, the seventh-dimensional old ancestor directly formed seals to support the Gantian God sect's protective killing formation. At the same time, a sect treasure mirror flew out from the depths of the sect. It was the sect's treasure weapon, the Gantian mirror. The protective killing formation and the Gantian mirror merged together. The entire place was instantly flooded by a surging aura of destruction. The unparalleled killing aura pressed down on Lin Tian. It was as if a destructive galaxy was falling here. Lin Tian's expression remained the same. More and more power of heaven and earth poured into the sword of heaven and earth in his hand, causing it to instantly become stronger. He slashed out with the sword. Sizzling sounds rang out, and the protective killing formation of this lineage instantly collapsed. The Qian Sky mirror was also directly slashed into pieces. Then, the sword force continued to spread out and once again landed on the body of the Qian Sky ancestor, piercing through him once again. Such a scene shocked all the experts in the sect. Their sect's protective killing formation and treasure weapon couldn't even withstand a single blow. Lin Tian's footsteps didn't stop at all. His expression didn't change either. The 7 types of seventh-dimensional laws fluctuated, collapsing the palaces and ancient pavilions of the Gantian God sect, killing the disciples of the sect one by one. Then, he slashed at the old ancestor. The old ancestor resisted with all his strength, but it was useless. Under this sword, he was directly smashed into pieces. You stop. When did my Gantian god sect provoke you? Why are you slaughtering my sect like this? The old ancestor of the Gantian god sect was horrified. At this moment, he truly knew that he wasn't a match for Lin Tian. While he was shocked by Lin Tian's strength, he was also shocked and angry. Their Gantian god sect didn't seem to have provoked Lin Tian. Before this, they didn't seem to have any deep grudges with Lin Tian. Why did Lin Tian barge into their sect and wreak havoc like this? Previously, because he felt that he could suppress Lin Tian and easily kill Lin Tian, he didn't consider such matters. But now, as he realized that he couldn't defeat Lin Tian, he began to think of this problem. He was shocked and angry. Why? Since coming here, Lin Tian spoke for the first time. He said coldly, "You want to use my disciple to strengthen the seal and summon the entire seventh-dimensional sky to chase after my disciple. Tell me, shouldn't I do it?" When he said this, the old ancestor and everyone in the Gantian god sect were shocked. As for the disciples that Lin Tian mentioned, these people naturally knew who he was referring to. The descendant of the desolate saint is your disciple? You took that boy as your disciple. The old ancestor immediately understood why Lin Tian had barged into the Gantian god sect. Then he became furious and shouted, "The three great clans of the forbidden ancient demon region are about to appear. When that happens, the seventh-dimensional sky will be met with a catastrophe. All living beings will either be exterminated or enslaved. It will be an eternal catastrophe, a catastrophe that will destroy everything. Now, the boy's desolate heaven bloodline can strengthen the seal. Sacrificing him can stop the catastrophe and save the billions of living beings in the seventh-dimensional sky. We are doing this for the billions of living beings in the seventh-dimensional sky. Moreover, the three great ancient clans were sealed by his ancestor. The seal that was left by his ancestor. As the descendant of the desolate saint, he has the responsibility to strengthen the seal there. Now, not only are you hiding him, you even came to my Gantian god sect to wreak havoc and massacre because of this. Do you still have any sense of right and wrong? Do you still have this territory in your heart? Do you still have the common people in this world?" Chapter 2437. Lin Tian's expression instantly turned cold as he looked at old ancestor Gantian, who was in the seventh-dimensional realm. He raised his hand and slashed out. With a loud clang, the sword whistled through the air, and the sword's momentum overflowed into the sky. With a bang, the patriarch was sent flying, and blood splattered all over the sky. At the same time, the other disciples of the Gantian god sect around them suffered as well. One after another, their bodies and souls were annihilated. Many palaces and pavilions were destroyed, and a large number of floating islands fell from the sky, shattering into pieces and splattering dirt everywhere. You bastards, each and every one of you are doing ugly things, and you dare to question me? His voice was cold as he raised his hand and slashed again. With one slash, the surrounding space was annihilated. Patriarch Gantian had just stabilized his body when he was pierced through again. He was sent flying again as he spat out large mouthfuls of blood. What does he owe the spirits of the seventh-dimensional realm? Did the spirits of the seventh-dimensional realm raise him until now? Or did his ancestors owe this world something? In his hand, the sword of heaven and earth vibrated, and with the help of the seven seventh-dimensional laws, he slashed out again and shattered one of Patriarch Gantian's arms. Under the intertwining of the seven seventh-dimensional laws, the Patriarch would not be able to recover in a short time. Around them, many of the other disciples and deacons of the Gantian god sect suffered and turned into a bloody mist. Once upon a time, the desolate saint's ancestor, in order to protect the seven dimensions and protect you bastards, fought against the three ancient clans alone. He sealed the three ancient clans and died from exhaustion. Today, the desolate saint has passed away countless years ago. As a descendant of the desolate saint, He is being hunted down by the people that the desolate saint once protected. They want to steal the desolate heaven bloodline and exterminate his clan. When his clan was annihilated, where were you? When he was being hunted down, where were you? You knew about this, but you just watched casually. You could have stopped it with a raise of your hand, but you turned a blind eye to it. Now, the seal left behind by the desolate saint is about to be broken, and the three ancient clans that once wreaked havoc in the seventh-dimensional realm are about to come into being. You felt that you were in danger, so you immediately thought of him and wanted to use his flesh, origin, and soul to fill the seal? To solve the danger you are about to face, are you even worthy of being called humans? His eyes were cold, and his voice was cold. The 7 types of laws of the 7th dimension boiled, and the sword light of heaven and earth exploded as he slashed out again. Old Ancestor Gantian was in trouble once again. His other arm was chopped off, and half of his body exploded. Under the influence of the 3-dimensional powers of heaven and earth and the 7-dimensional laws, he temporarily lost the ability to repair his body. Blood kept flowing out. You're not even comparable to maggots. His voice became even colder as his black hair danced in the wind. The eye of destiny and the reincarnation eye opened at the same time. The vast power of providence and the terrifying light of reincarnation appeared at the same time and enveloped the entire Gantian god sect. When old Ancestor Gantian heard Lin Tion's words, his face turned green and ugly. His eyes were filled with shock and fear. At this moment, when he saw Lin Tion's eye of destiny and eye of reincarnation, his body couldn't help but tremble. You not only did Lin Tion control all the laws of the 7th dimension, but he also controlled the legendary reincarnation. At the same time, all of the other disciples in the same bloodline were shocked beyond belief and were trembling in fear. Everyone who was still alive couldn't help but tremble. Even the ancient supremes of heaven and earth feared and couldn't control this power, but Lin Tion actually controlled it. Lin Tion's eyes were cold as killing intent boiled. The light of providence and the light of reincarnation circled around his body at the same time. You're doing this for this territory? For all living beings in the world. You're just afraid of death, afraid of losing everything you have now. Now, you're the top orthodoxy in the 7th dimension, and the entire 7th dimension worships you and is afraid of you. However, if the 3 major clans appear, you will lose everything. You want to use his life to maintain everything you have now. The black hair in front of his forehead danced in the wind, as the rivers of destiny and reincarnation appeared at the same time and surrounded the entire Gantian god sect. Roar! Beastly roars filled the sky as tens of thousands of reincarnation beasts appeared in the reincarnation river. The light of reincarnation surged in all directions. Screams immediately sounded as the disciples and deacons of the Gantian god sect were killed one after another. There's no need to wait for the 3 major clans to appear. There's no need to think about being killed or enslaved by them. I'll destroy all of you now. His eyes were emotionless as the sword in his hand vibrated and let out an ear-piercing sound. He slashed at the Gantian god sect's ancestor. With a puff, half of the ancestor's body was destroyed, and he looked even more miserable than before. Fellow Taoists, please calm down. Stop. We can talk. We can talk. We know we were wrong. Let us go. Let us go. The person said with a trembling voice, his eyes filled with fear. At this moment, he felt that death was so close to him for the first time in the 7th dimension. Lin Tion didn't reply at all. The light of the sword of heaven and earth in his hand surged as he slashed at the person again. This slash was extremely sharp and terrifying, and its speed was extremely fast. In the blink of an eye, it arrived in front of the person. Ah! The ancestor screamed miserably as he couldn't block this violent slash. His body and soul were destroyed on the spot. Roar! The reincarnation beast roared, shaking the surroundings. Within the Gantian god sect, the disciples and deacons of the Gantian god sect were being killed one after another. Their eyes were filled with fear as they covered their heads and fled like rats. Lin Tian's eyes were cold and emotionless as he slowly rose into the air and arrived at the center of the Gantian god sect. Wong! The reincarnation diagram rushed out of his body and interweaved with the light of reincarnation. It started to expand rapidly and enveloped the entire Gantian god sect in the blink of an eye. Together with his sword of heaven and earth, it mercilessly descended. In a few breaths, the sword of heaven and earth and the reincarnation diagram descended at the same time. With a rumbling sound, the entire Gantian god sect collapsed. The dense floating islands collapsed, and the treasured halls and ancient pavilions shattered. Even the ancient scriptures and cultivation resources were destroyed, turning into ashes and disappearing. He didn't have the heart to take this kind of inheritance. He didn't want to dirty his hands. Boom! The rumbling continued as blood mist exploded and sputtered everywhere. After dozens of breaths, the rumbling stopped, and the Gantian god sect was completely turned into ruins. There was no longer an intact piece of land. Lin Tian's eyes were cold as he turned around in the void and stepped into the distance. Not long after, he arrived at the place where the Lucian Saint sect was established. Like the Gantian god sect, this sect was one of the 7 top orthodoxies in the 7th dimension. They also participated in the search for Little Mu Chun and wanted to use him to strengthen the seal. In other words, this matter was guided and manipulated by the 7 top orthodoxies in the 7th dimension. He wouldn't let any of these orthodoxies go and would destroy them all. They had no value at all. They were all trash that deserved to die. Clang! The sound of the sword was ear-piercing. When he arrived at this place, he didn't say anything else and directly condensed the sword of heaven and earth to kill. You are the person who saved the desolate saint's descendant. How dare you come here? Where's the desolate saint's descendant? Hand it over. There's not much time left. We must catch the desolate saint's descendant as soon as possible and perfect the seal left behind by the desolate saint. Take him down first, and then interrogate him. There were many experts in the Lucian Saint sect. Naturally, they knew that Lin Tian saved Little Mu Chun, and their eyes were filled with sinister light. Everyone attacked together and suppressed Lin Tian at the same time. However, the disparity in power was too great. Lin Tian, who had the sword of heaven and earth, possessed overwhelming battle strength. Facing Lin Tian, who had the sword of heaven and earth, no one in the Lucian Saint sect could stop him. One by one, they were killed mercilessly. You, stop! Ah! In the blink of an eye, terrified screams reverberated throughout the flowing, immortal sacred sect. Blood mist exploded one after another, and one after another, the disciples of the flowing, immortal sacred sect died tragically. Even though the 7th-dimensional realm Grand Ancestor and the other higher-ups of the flowing, immortal sacred sect attacked together, it was of no use. In just 2 hours, all of them were killed. Blood dyed the ground red, and the place where the flowing, immortal sacred sect was built turned into ruins. His eyes were cold and ruthless. Lin Tian stepped on the void and left. Not long after, he went to the Baishao Pavilion, Tai Feng Dao School, Heaven Fate House, Immortal Slaughtering Treasure Temple, and Desolate Gene Family. He ruthlessly destroyed these top orthodoxies and turned them into ruins. After that, he went to the other great sections. Previously, he had participated in the pursuit of Little Mu Chun and wanted to search for him to strengthen the seal. He knew about hundreds of sects and also knew where they were established. I'm going to find them one by one. In just a month's time, one great sect after another was destroyed. The 7th Dimension's cultivation world gradually found out about this matter. They knew that it was done by Lin Tian, knew about the relationship between Lin Tian and Little Mu Chun, knew that Lin Tian was mercilessly attacking for Little Mu Chun, and also knew that Lin Tian controlled 7 types of laws of the 7th Dimension. Everyone was horrified. He single-handedly destroyed those great sects of the Heaven God sect. How is this possible? How can this be? We are doing this for the peace of the 7th Dimension. We are doing this to protect the billions of living beings in the 7th Dimension. As long as we sacrifice the descendant of the desolate saint, we can stop the calamity and ensure the peace of the seventh dimension. What's wrong with us doing this? Isn't this the best method? Why is he so cruel? Devil, devil, executioner. The seventh dimension's cultivation world was in an uproar. The cultivators were shocked, angry, and frightened at the same time. Many people became uneasy. Some of the great sex inheritances who had participated in the operation to hunt down little Mu Chun were even more panicked. This is too much. What did we do wrong? What did we do wrong? For the sake of the world, what did we do wrong? Some of the sect leaders of the great sect spoke out, their anger mixed with fear. Lin Tian naturally heard the voices of the cultivators in the seventh dimension's cultivation world, as well as the voices of some of the great sections. The anger and killing intent in his heart became even more intense. At the same time, he was extremely disgusted by these people and the great sects who spoke out. At that moment, after destroying another sect, he stepped toward the great sects who spoke out. What did they do wrong? Mercilessly, he wiped out the inheritances of these great sects from the seventh dimension's cultivation world one by one. Ugly bastards. The desolate saint died of exhaustion in order to protect you. He was really blind. If you continue to bark like a dog, I don't mind washing the seventh dimension with blood. Chapter 2438. Massacre the seventh dimension? Why? Who does he think he is? The desolate sage did the seventh dimension a favor by sealing the three major clans back then. However, the seal there was indeed left by the desolate sage. Since it was left by the desolate sage's descendants naturally have the responsibility to reinforce the seal. What do we do wrong? What's wrong with exchanging one person for the peace of the entire seventh dimension? Could it be that letting the three major clans come into being and destroy the peace of the entire seventh dimension is the right thing to do? Can't you tell when to make a choice and when to make a choice? Do you have any sense of right and wrong? Damn it, that demon. Does he really want the three major clans to destroy the entire seventh dimension? Damn it, damn it. Lin Tian's voice was heard, and the seventh dimension's cultivation world became even more furious. When Lin Tian heard such voices, he no longer responded. However, the killing intent in his chest became even more vigorous. For the first time, he felt extreme disgust toward this region. After that, his attacks became even more ruthless. He walked through one inheritance after another in the seventh dimension and destroyed one major sect after another. The Three-Wind Taoist Palace was destroyed. The Green Peak sect was completely destroyed. The Luo clan was destroyed. Terrified and angry voices were heard. One by one, the major sects were wiped out by Lin Tian. The seventh dimension's cultivation world was in chaos. Damn it, why did he do this? Isn't he afraid that the three major clans will come into being and destroy the entire seventh dimension? Damn it, damn it. Many cultivators and major sects were furious. In exchange, Lin Tian killed even more ruthlessly. In just 2 months, hundreds of major sects' inheritances disappeared. For a time, the entire seventh dimension's cultivation world was silent. Everyone was terrified and trembled. From the beginning until now, in just 3 months, 7 top orthodoxies, hundreds of second-level powers, and hundreds of third-level inheritances were all destroyed by Lin Tian. The entire seventh dimension fell into endless fear. Who else wants the desolate sage's descendants to reinforce the seal? Get out here. Come to the forbidden ancient demon domain. I'll wait for you, Lin Tian said. All the inheritances of the great sects that had participated in the capture of Little Mu Chun to strengthen the desolate saint seal had been destroyed. Today, he came to the forbidden ancient devil region and spread such a voice. He wanted to see if anyone still had such thoughts. As long as they had such thoughts, as long as they dared to come to this place, he would not show the slightest bit of mercy. He would kill them all. In the seventh dimension, the cultivation world was silent, shocked, and angry. Gradually, many people began to grit their teeth. Let's go together. With the combined power of the entire seventh dimension, It is impossible for us to not be able to take him down. He's alone. We don't have a choice now. We can only fight. Otherwise, when the three great evil clans appear, we will all be finished. I must find a descendant of the desolate saint and use the desolate heaven bloodline to strengthen the seal there. He had to be quick. We must do it as soon as possible. Many cultivators voiced such thoughts. Soon after, this voice spread far and wide. Many horrified cultivators in the entire Seven Maintenance world began to move again. Not long after, millions of cultivators arrived at the desert in front of the forbidden ancient devil region. Lin Tian stood alone in the middle of the desert and looked coldly at the people who had arrived. And hand him over. No matter how strong you are, you cannot withstand the combined power of us from the seventh dimension. Hand over the descendant of the desolate saint. We are also doing this for the peace of the seventh dimension. If those three vicious ancient clans appear, you will also suffer. Those three great clans are far more terrifying than you can imagine. Where is the descendant of the desolate saint? These cultivators roared angrily and surrounded Lin Tian. Their eyes were filled with fear and horror. After all, the things that Lin Tian had done previously were too frightening. Lin Tian's eyes were cold. In his hand, the desolate heaven laws interweaved into a sword. Without saying a word, he raised his hand and slashed out. With a clang, the cold sword beam swept out. In a blink of an eye, blood mist exploded. In a blink of an eye, a large number of cultivators were destroyed. That darned executioner. Everyone attacked together and fight it out with him. Someone roared, "Fight! Kill!" Millions of cultivators moved at the same time and rushed towards Lin Tian in a frenzy. Lin Tian's expression did not change. He just stood in place. The 7 types of 7th dimension laws boiled and swept out in all directions. At the same time, the 5 types of 5th dimension laws interweaved together and turned into a destructive wave that swept towards the surroundings. Ah! Cries of agony and blood splattered everywhere as the cultivators of the 7th dimensional heavens who had rushed to this place were killed one after another. In a blink of an eye, the desert was dyed red with blood. It was a shocking sight. Boom! 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 Violent explosions of holy energy continued to ring out. With millions of cultivators working together, their combat power was truly terrifying. Even some of the ordinary experts in the early stages of the 7th dimension would frown and be moved. However, Lin Tian's expression did not change. The sword of heaven and earth condensed from the 3-dimensional heaven and earth. With a swing of the sword, a sword aura that could destroy heaven and earth swept out in all directions, instantly shattering everything. Time continued to pass. Puff! 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 Blood mist continued to splatter here as cultivators died one after another. In just half a day, the millions of cultivators were reduced to a few 100,000. At this time, the hundreds of thousands of cultivators were filled with horror. Their eyes were filled with fear. At this moment, in the eyes of these cultivators, Lin Tian, who was holding the sword of heaven and earth, was like a demon god that could destroy the world. The hundreds of thousands of cultivators looked at Lin Tian and could not help but retreat. Their hands that were holding weapons could not help but tremble. Trash! Why are you retreating? Don't you want the descendant of the desolate saint? Defeat me, and you will get what you want. Lin Tian's voice was cold. He held the sword of heaven and earth and forced the hundreds of thousands of cultivators to retreat. These hundreds of thousands of cultivators were not weak. All of them were in the solitary god realm. However, at this time, their eyes were filled with fear. Don't come over. We just want to protect the peace of the 7th dimension. We just want to stop the upcoming catastrophe. Why are you doing this to us? Someone said with a trembling voice. Lin Tian's eyes were cold. He raised his hand and swung his sword, directly destroying the person who spoke. Moreover, the swift and fierce sword force surged like a stormy sea, causing a group of cultivators nearby to die tragically. He would not show mercy to these trash. After killing these people, the air would be fresher. The sword of heaven and earth intertwined with an ice-cold, killing light. He took a step forward and closed in on the remaining hundreds of thousands of cultivators. Boom! Suddenly, in the depths of the desert, where the light intertwined, an extremely terrifying aura rushed up and shattered the void. "We are back!" A cold voice sounded, and the extremely thick pressure of the seventh dimension spread out. In the depths of the desert that was filled with light, a huge spatial door appeared. The light and devil light were vast and mighty, and in an instant, a large part of the sky was dyed black. In the blink of an eye, hundreds of figures stepped out. Among them, dozens of people at the front were at the peak of the seventh dimension realm. As for the rest, the weakest ones were at the peak of the silent soul realm. Their auras were extremely terrifying. Moreover, there were even more figures stepping out of the spatial door, each of them exuding an extremely terrifying aura. In the blink of an eye, the air in this place became incomparably oppressive. The seal is broken. It's over. It's all over. The seventh dimension will never have a day of peace. In the desert, the hundreds of thousands of cultivators who were still alive all turned pale in an instant, and their limbs trembled even more violently. Lin Tian's footsteps did not change at all, as if he could not see the powerful figures who had broken the desolate sage's seal. In his eyes, there were only the hundreds of thousands of cultivators in the seventh dimension who were still alive, and he directly swung his sword away. Clang! The sound of the sword was ear-piercing, and in the blink of an eye, the sword rays wantonly swept in front of the hundreds of thousands of cultivators. Puff, puff, puff! Blood mist suddenly exploded, and in the blink of an eye, thousands of cultivators died tragically, their bodies and souls destroyed. The three great clans have appeared, and the common enemy of the seventh dimension is right in front of us. Now, you still want to kill us? Do you even have this land in your heart? The hundreds of thousands of cultivators trembled. Lin Tian's expression did not change in the slightest. The sword of heaven and earth burst out with dazzling holy light, and a sword slashed a large number of cultivators into pieces. Blood mist constantly splashed in this desert. Such a scene was naturally seen by the three great clans who had appeared. There was a strange look in their eyes, but their gazes were very cold. After so many years, I never thought that there would be such a welcome ceremony when I just came out. Very good. Very interesting. The dusky, forbidden, ancient demon domain has been trapped in it for countless years. All the creatures in this world have to pay the price. I wonder if there are any descendants of that damned human from back then. If there are, cold voices came out one after another. Internal strife? We should also participate. Let's start the slaughter here. The sword in the young human's hand is not simple. It should be a peak seventh dimensional treasure. Very good. This lord wants it. Dozens of experts at the peak of the seventh dimensional realm had cold eyes, and their gazes gradually fell on Lin Tian. One of them moved. It was an expert from the Dark Scale clan of the three great ancient clans. He took a step forward, and wherever he passed, the space directly collapsed. In the blink of an eye, this expert of the Dark Scale clan arrived behind Lin Tian. His eyes were cold and cruel. He directly raised his hand to grab the sword of heaven and earth in Lin Tian's hand. At the same time, a dark, killing light enveloped Lin Tian. Scram! In Lin Tian's hand, the sword of heaven and earth boiled, and the power of the third-dimensional realm surged to the extreme. He slashed out without turning his head. The destructive sword force instantly annihilated the attack of the Dark Scale clan expert. Then, the sword force did not decrease and continued to press forward, landing directly on the expert's chest. Puff! Blood mist burst out. This expert of the Dark Scale clan at the peak of the seventh dimensional realm did not even have time to scream. His body and soul were directly destroyed. How is this possible? The three great clans that stepped out of the forbidden ancient demon domain were the Dark Scale clan, the Serene Flame clan, and the Horn Demon clan. At this time, when the experts of the three great clans saw this scene, their expressions changed greatly. This was especially true for the experts of the Dark Scale clan. The person who attacked just now was an elder of their clan who had reached the peak of the seventh dimensional realm. But now, he was killed with a single sword strike. At the same time, the hundreds of thousands of people who were still alive in the seventh dimensional realm trembled in fear. Chapter 2439. This battle prowess. The hundreds of thousands of cultivators in the seventh dimension were terrified and horrified. In the past few months, Lin Tian had single-handedly destroyed 7 top orthodoxies and other inheritances in the seventh dimension. Everyone in the seventh dimension knew that Lin Tian was very powerful, but they estimated that his battle prowess was at most in the middle stage of the seventh dimension. However, they did not expect to see Lin Tian kill a terrifying existence at the peak of the seventh dimension with a single sword strike. Killing an existence at the peak of the seventh dimension with a single sword strike, what kind of terrifying battle prowess was this? The strongest battle prowess of the 3 ancient clans is at the peak of the seventh dimension. Many people were shocked. Lin Tian could kill an expert at the peak of the seventh dimension with a single sword strike. Didn't that mean that he could destroy the 3 ancient clans by himself? For a moment, the hundreds of thousands of cultivators in the seventh dimension were shocked, and some of them were pleasantly surprised. Fellow Taoist, we will no longer look for the descendants of the desolate saint to strengthen the seal. Now, you alone will be enough to wipe out the 3 ancient clans. Yes, if we knew that you were so strong, we would not have looked for the descendants of the desolate saint. We are all compatriots in the seventh dimension. Now is not the time for internal strife. Fellow Taoist, please deal with the 3 ancient clans first. Protect the peace of the seventh dimension. Yes, fellow Taoist, let us all stop. Please deal with the 3 ancient clans first. They are very vicious and cruel. Some cultivators spoke one after another. Their eyes were shining as they looked at Lin Tian with surprise and anticipation. Lin Tian's eyes were cold as he raised his sword and slashed. Clang! The sharp sword ray blocked the attack and destroyed the bodies and souls of those who spoke. A group of seventh dimension cultivators nearby also suffered and died one after another. You! What are you doing? We have already stopped. Why are you still attacking us? You should be dealing with the 3 ancient clans now. These people were shocked and angry. Lin Tian did not say anything else. The sword of heaven and earth in his hand vibrated and slashed out again. Clang! The sound of the sword was astonishing, and the momentum of the sword was majestic. In the blink of an eye, it brought about patches of bloody mist. Just a moment ago, in order to ensure that they wouldn't die, they wanted to sacrifice his disciple to reinforce the seal. They were terrified when they were no match for him. But now, after seeing his true battle prowess, it was as if nothing had happened. They all relaxed and shamelessly asked him to kill the 3 great ancient clans and protect the safety of the seventh way. Regarding this, he was full of disgust. The 3 ancient clans were ferocious and cruel. In his opinion, these people were far more ferocious and cruel than the 3 ancient clans. After the seventh dimensional realm, there was the Alpha Origin realm, Breaking Desolate realm, Tribulation realm, 8th dimensional realm, Primordial realm, Creation realm, Tribulation realm, 9th dimensional realm, and Sovereign of heaven and earth. Now, with the 3-dimensional world in his body, he was invincible under the Alpha Origin realm, and killing people at the peak of the 7th dimensional realm wouldn't take too much effort. He could easily wipe out the 3 ancient clans by himself. However, he had no reason to do such a thing. Was it to wipe out the 3 major clans to protect the peace of the 7th dimension? That was a joke. Back in the 5th dimension, when he was no match for the 5-tailed vicious beast, he also took action to buy time for the creatures of the 5th dimension to escape. In the end, he suppressed the vicious beast because he couldn't bear to see the countless creatures of the 5th dimension suffer. But now, when the 7th dimension was facing a similar situation, he would never take action. This world wasn't worth protecting. Clang! The sword of heaven and earth in his hand boiled. Sharp sword lights swept out once again, and the 7 types of laws of the 7th dimension boiled along with it. You! Ah! Stop! Stop, don't! Ah! Mournful screams continued to be heard. An hour later, hundreds of thousands of people were killed. For a time, the place became deathly silent. The sword of heaven and earth in Lin Tian's hand dissipated. He didn't even look at the people of the 3 ancient clans and directly left. The experts of the 3 ancient clans looked at Lin Tian's departing figure and didn't stop him. Even the Dark Scale clan, which had lost a Grand Elder, was no exception. Their faces were solemn as they watched Lin Tian leave and Lin Tian disappear into the horizon. After so many years, such a terrifying person has appeared in this land. 7 types of laws of the 7th dimension, and that terrifying sword. This man, who exactly is he? The higher-ups of the 3 ancient clans all had solemn expressions. Lin Tian's battle strength made their hearts palpitate. Unless the supreme ancestor of our clan steps into the alpha origin stage, otherwise, someone said in a low voice. He didn't finish his sentence, but everyone knew what he meant. The current Lin Tian was absolutely invincible under the alpha origin stage. Even if the 3 ancient clans joined forces, they wouldn't be his match. From the looks of it, he clearly has a strong killing intent towards the human cultivators in this land. He doesn't care about the life and death of the living beings in this land. Otherwise, he wouldn't have slaughtered those people like that. Otherwise, he would have directly attacked us when we broke out of the seal. He didn't try to stop us at this moment, and he probably won't do so in the future. If he doesn't do anything, we shouldn't provoke him for the time being. First, we should seize control of this 7-dimensional territory. Some people said, among them, a Grand Elder from the Serene Flame clan of the 3 ancient clans spoke. His voice was filled with killing intent as he said in a deep voice, previously, among those he killed, someone mentioned the descendant of the Desolate Saint. Back then, the human who forced us into the forbidden ancient demon region and sealed us still has a descendant in this world. Moreover, it seems to be related to him. When these words were said, the eyes of the other experts of the 3 ancient clans turned cold. The 3 ancient clans naturally hated the Desolate Saint. If not for the Desolate Saint, they wouldn't have been trapped in the forbidden ancient demon region for such a long time. If not for the Desolate Saint, the 3 ancient clans would have long occupied the entire 7-dimensional world. They naturally wanted to kill the descendant of the Desolate Saint, and it was an extremely strong killing intent. So, what if it's related to him? We're not his match for the time being. One of the elders of the Horned Demon race said, now that we've split up, the most important thing is to seize control of this territory. Don't worry about him for the time being. Once our 3 races' supreme ancestors step into the Alpha Origin stage, the 3 supreme ancestors will suppress him and find the Desolate Saint descendants to kill. We can also find out how he controlled the 7 7-dimensional laws from his body. The Grand Ancestors aren't far from the Alpha Origin stage, and it won't be long before they step into the Alpha Origin stage. Hearing that person's words, the other experts of the 3 great clans all nodded. Let him live a little longer, an expert from the Dark Scale race said. His voice was extremely cold. Lin Tian had killed a senior elder from their race before. The 3 Grand Ancestors are in seclusion in the forbidden ancient demon region and are guarded by their clansmen. Now let's kill. A Serene Flame clan Grand Elder said coldly. Let the land know that we're back. Let the land tremble. A Horn Grinder clan Grand Elder said, boys, let's move. A Dark Scale clan Grand Elder said coldly, kill, kill, kill. A cold shout was heard, shaking the sky. There were many members of the 3 ancient clans. Each of them had a frightening aura and a cruel look on their faces. From the desert where the forbidden ancient demon region was located, they charged towards every corner of the 7th dimension. In the blink of an eye, the 7-dimensional world fell into disaster. Countless cultivators in the 7-dimensional world began to suffer. Who will save us? Screams rang out in the 7-dimensional world as the cultivators in the 7-dimensional world fell into panic. At this time, Lin Tian was residing in an immortal mountain. He had been here for a long time. He opened up a small cave in this immortal mountain and went into seclusion to cultivate. It had been a few months since he broke through to the solitary god realm. He was ready to continue cultivating. From the solitary god realm to the solitary soul realm, he would be able to unlock the seventh seal on his soul root. The Reincarnation Heart Sutra began to circulate on its own. For a time, dense spiritual energy rolled out from the immortal mountain. Combined with these psionic Tao powers, coupled with his powerful potential and powerful understanding of all things in the world, his entire cultivation realm immediately began to increase at an obvious speed. His essence, energy, and spirit also became stronger with each strand. Time passed little by little. In the blink of an eye, he had been cultivating in seclusion for 3 months. His cultivation realm rose from the early stage to the peak of the solitary god realm. Almost there, he muttered to himself and continued cultivating without opening his eyes. Now, he was only a small step away from the solitary soul realm. He estimated that he would reach it in 2 months if he cultivated seriously. In the outside world of the 7th dimension, the 3 ancient clans broke the wild sage's seal and appeared in the world. In just 3 months, blood flowed like rivers in the 7th dimension. Countless cultivators died tragically. Wails of agony continued to be heard. In this world, the inheritances of great sects were destroyed one after another. Wherever the 3 ancient clans passed, no one survived. Where is that person? He has mastered all the laws of the 7th dimension. He should be able to fight back against the 7 top orthodoxies that he destroyed. Why didn't he come out to stop them? Is he hiding because he's afraid of the 3 ancient clans? Damn it, what should we do now? The 7th dimension was in a miserable state. 7 top orthodoxies were destroyed by Lin Tian. Hundreds of other powerful sects were also destroyed by Lin Tian. The 7th dimension was now a world. When faced with the 3 ancient clans who broke the seal, it was as weak as an ant. Another month passed. The entire 7th dimension had fallen completely. The 7th dimension was completely under the control of the 3 ancient clans. There's no need to kill all the humans in this territory. We still need slaves. We learned from some human cultivators that the human from before is indeed related to the wild sage's descendant. The 3 ancestors will step into the alpha origin stage in at most a month. At that time, we will find that person and suppress him. We will find the only remaining bloodline of the wild sage and use it as a blood sacrifice for the clansmen of our 3 clans who died at his hands. We will vent our hatred for being sealed for such a long time. We will make sure that the wild sage has no more descendants. The grand elders of the 3 ancient clans gathered together and looked down at the 7th dimension. Their eyes were filled with an extremely cold light. In the immortal mountain, Lin Tian was in seclusion and silently cultivating. Outside his body, a 9-colored holy light surrounded him. His entire person seemed incomparably ethereal, as if he had become one with the world. In the blink of an eye, another half a month passed. Dong! Half a month later. On this day, the sky shook violently as a lightning vortex appeared in the sky where he was cultivating. Chapter 2440. A pitch-black thundercloud vortex appeared in the sky. Bolts of lightning interweaved, surging violently. Darkness enveloped this place in the blink of an eye, and the space became distorted inch by inch. Lin Tian opened his eyes. There were no living beings in this immortal mountain, so he chose to undergo the tribulation here. Boom! The sky exploded. Not long after, the first round of the main lightning punishment fell. This was a group of incomplete, immortal palaces formed by lightning. They looked as if they really existed, and their aura was intimidating. Lin Tian was fearless. He quietly stood in place, allowing the main lightning punishment to fall on his body. At the same time, he summoned the reincarnation sword from his body, allowing this one and only origin divine weapon to undergo the tribulation together with him. Boom! 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 The main lightning punishment fell one after another. More than half a day later, the silent soul heavenly punishment finally dispersed. Lin Tian used his will to reform the reincarnation sword that was shattered by the lightning punishment and stored it back into his body. Then, he used the rainbow-colored auspicious clouds after the heavenly tribulation to temper his flesh and blood, stabilizing his current silent soul realm cultivation base. After a quarter of an hour, the rainbow-colored auspicious clouds disappeared. At this time, he truly stood in the silent soul realm, and he could clearly feel that he had become much stronger. Moreover, as his cultivation base increased, the growth of the three-dimensional world in his body also became faster. The immortal mountain here was completely destroyed, and the ground was charred black. He paused for a moment, then directly left this place. Stepping out of this charred immortal mountain, he prepared to find a suitable place to release the seventh seal on his soul root. He already had some plans for such a place. He wanted to go to a place in the seventh dimension called the soul-severing Forbidden Valley. He had previously searched the sea of consciousness of an elder of the Gantian divine sect, so he knew about this Forbidden Valley. The Holy Spirit chi inside was so dense that it was almost liquid. Moreover, there were all kinds of strange, heavenly treasures, each of which was extremely extraordinary. However, at the same time, it was also incomparably dangerous. People under the seventh dimension realm didn't dare to step inside. He followed the coordinates of the soul-severing Forbidden Valley and headed there. Not long after, he saw many figures. Crash! The sound of metal chains clashing reverberated through the air as a group of cultivators were chased away by a group of foreign beings who had a single horn on their heads and were emanating devilish chi. When Lin Tian saw these people, he indifferently swept his gaze over them. In an instant, he had guessed many things. Those foreign races with a single horn on their heads and devilish aura were obviously horned demon elites who had stepped out of the forbidden ancient demon region. As for those who were shackled, they were undoubtedly cultivators from the seventh dimensional world. It seemed that these cultivators from the seventh dimensional world had been suppressed by the horned demon race and turned into slaves. At the same time, the cultivators of the seventh dimensional heaven and the powerhouses of the horned demon race also saw him. Fellow Taoist, save us. The strongest among them is only in the solitary God realm. Given your strength, fellow Taoist, you can definitely defeat them easily. Fellow Taoist, please help. When the group of seventh dimensional cultivators saw Lin Tian, they were pleasantly surprised as if they had seen their savior. This caused the hearts of the group of horned demon elites to skip a beat. Their expressions changed as they hurriedly put up their guard. A few months ago, when the three great ancient clans had first appeared, Lin Tian had been listed as the most dangerous person in the seventh dimensional world by the three great ancient clans. The higher-ups of the three great ancient clans had sternly warned their clansmen that if they encountered Lin Tian, they were not his match at all. Now, when these horned demon elites saw Lin Tian appear and heard the suppressed cultivators of the seventh dimensional world asking Lin Tian to deal with them, they naturally felt their hearts palpitate and a chill ran down their spines. They were afraid that Lin Tian would make a move at this time. Lin Tian heard the voices of the seventh dimensional world cultivators asking for help, but he acted as if he did not hear them. He did not even look at these people and directly left. The cultivators of this world disgusted him to the extreme. It was impossible and meaningless for him to save these people. Fellow Taoist, please help us. These foreign races are not a threat to you at all. Why did you leave us in the lurch? Are you still a member of the seventh dimensional world? Seeing Lin Tian in the distance, the suppressed cultivators of the seventh dimensional world were both shocked and angry. Lin Tian completely ignored these people and quickly left, disappearing from everyone's sight. It was only at this time that the group of horned demon elites let out a huge sigh of relief. Fortunately, Lin Tian did not make a move. Immediately after, the gazes of the horned demon powerhouses all fell upon the seventh dimensional heaven cultivators. Lowly slaves, how dare you ask people to deal with us? You're courting death. Kill them. The group of horned demon elites' eyes glinted with a cold light. They were extremely dissatisfied with the seventh-dimensional world cultivators asking for Lin Tian's help. Murderous glints intertwined in their eyes as they attacked at the same time. All kinds of murderous glints mercilessly pressed down on these people. Immediately, horrified screams rang out as bright red blood splattered everywhere. The group of seventh-dimensional world cultivators who were shackled were all mercilessly slaughtered in the blink of an eye. Blood had dyed the ground here red. The leader of the horned demon elites coldly snorted as he looked in the direction Lin Tian had left. After taking a deep breath, his eyes involuntarily glinted. Go back and inform the Grand Ancestor. The human has appeared. The Grand Ancestor of their clan had already stepped out of the Alpha Origin stage, and the same was true for the Grand Ancestors of the other two ancient clans. Lin Tian could not possibly withstand the attacks of such experts. A descendant of the Desolate Saint. 7 types of seventh-dimensional laws. Heh! The other horned demon elites cried out. Their eyes were filled with cruelty and eerie light as they returned in the direction they had come from. After leaving his previous location, Lin Tian headed south towards the soul-severing Forbidden Valley. He was already very far away. After tearing open several spatial doors, he finally appeared outside the soul-severing Forbidden Valley not long after. As far as the eye could see, the soul-severing Forbidden Valley was shrouded in mist. It was like a valley of the underworld, giving people a strange feeling that they could not see through it. At the same time, it was also filled with extremely dense saint spirit chi. It was like a mother sea of world spirit chi. Looking at the situation inside, he nodded inwardly. This soul-severing Forbidden Valley was not bad. Purely based on the density of Saint Spirit Chi and World Tao Force, it was not inferior to the 7 top orthodoxies in this world. As for the degree of danger, he did not care. If the experts of the 7th-dimensional world could enter and leave this place as they pleased, then he could naturally do so as well. He did not need to enter the 3-dimensional world. Without any hesitation, he directly stepped into the valley. The Forbidden Valley was shrouded in thick mist. Not long after he stepped in, strange mutated beasts attacked him. A vicious beast with sharp blades on its back pounced towards him, bringing with it a sinister wind. It was comparable to an expert at the end of the Silent Soul realm. At the same time, other mutated beasts appeared and pounced together. In an instant, gusts of demonic wind were stirred up. Lin Tian's expression did not change. He directly raised his hand and slapped away all the beasts that pounced on him. Then, not long after, he arrived at the center of the soul-severing Forbidden Valley. This place had the densest Saint Spirit Chi and World Tao Force. After arriving here, he took a deep breath and immediately unlocked the 7th seal on his soul root. Suddenly, with a boom, the entire place boiled. In the Forbidden Soul-severing Valley, the turbulent saint's spiritual chi and the way of heaven and earth tumbled and swept toward him. At the same time, in the sky above his head, countless heaven and earth anomalies appeared. They all looked so real. Moreover, in this Forbidden Valley, a strong medicinal fragrance filled the air. At this time, all the heaven and earth treasures in the valley directly turned into light and turned into pure spirit Tao force. Together, they surged towards him and entered his body along with the heaven and earth spirit chi. In this regard, Lin Tian appeared to be very calm. The Reincarnation Heart Sutra automatically circulated and cooperated with the spirit Tao force to cultivate. Buzz! 9-colored saint light intertwined, and his essence, chi, and spirit began to rise at an astonishing speed. At the same time, his cultivation also rose bit by bit. Just like this, time flew by, and in the blink of an eye, 7 days had passed. After unlocking the 7th seal on his soul root, the speed at which he absorbed spirit Tao force became faster and faster. His understanding of the Tao of heaven and earth also became stronger and stronger. On this day, 7 days later, his cultivation broke through to the 7th dimensional realm. Immediately, with a boom, The sky shook and instantly turned dark. A thunderous vortex immediately appeared. The seventh-dimensional realm, heavenly tribulation, began to descend. Lin Tian stood quietly in the Forbidden Valley, not moving at all. He raised his head and looked at the seventh-dimensional realm, heavenly tribulation in the sky. Immediately, he summoned the reincarnation sword from his body. Boom! With another boom, thunder and lightning surged. The first round of heavenly tribulation appeared, forming a sea of lightning that mercilessly pressed down. Then the second round, the third round, the fourth round, the fifth round, the sixth round, the dense heavenly tribulation struck down one after another. After a total of 6,000 rounds of heavenly tribulation, this heavenly tribulation finally disappeared. The thunderous vortex was no longer there. Instead, 7-colored auspicious clouds interweaved and intertwined, and an astonishing 7-colored holy radiance fell from the sky. Lin Tian condensed the reincarnation sword and stored it in his body. He used the 7-colored holy radiance to stabilize his current 7th-dimensional realm heavenly tribulation cultivation. Just like that, 7 or 8 minutes later, the 7-colored auspicious clouds also dispersed. 7th-dimensional realm, he muttered to himself. Now that his cultivation was in the 7th-dimensional realm, he could clearly feel that his combat strength had increased by a lot. Most importantly, after unlocking the 7th seal on his soul root, he could clearly feel that the greater heaven and earth had become clearer and simpler. He could quickly understand the essence of many things with just a glance, and it was almost as if he could see the Tao of heaven and earth clearly. The Forbidden Valley was scorched black. He clenched his fists and sensed his body. Then he stepped out of the Forbidden Valley. Soon he stepped out of the Forbidden Valley and walked into the distance. I can go back to the lower heaven and earth to take a look. Now that his cultivation had reached the 7th-dimensional realm, he could step into the 8th-dimensional realm. However, before that, he planned to go back to the lower heaven and earth to control all the laws of the 6th-dimensional realm, as well as the laws of causality and space-time. He would integrate them into the 3rd-dimensional realm and strengthen the 3rd-dimensional realm in his body. At the same time, he would also go back to Siwu Yi, Jiyu, and the others, as well as his 9 senior martial brothers and other old friends. Thinking of this, he couldn't help but smile. He immediately took action and tore open a heaven and earth gate that led to the 6th-dimensional realm. Chapter 2441. The 3 figures were all old men, and they exuded either demonic or demonic aura. The pressure they exuded was extremely tyrannical. Lin Tian looked at the 3 with a calm expression. Alpha Origin experts from the 3 ancient clans? In reality, from the characteristics and auras of the 3 of them, he could already determine the origins of the 3 of them. He was only casually asking such a question. At the same time, he was somewhat moved. After all, the 3 ancient clans didn't have such experts before. Of course, he was only moved because of the sudden appearance of so many Alpha Origin experts from the 3 ancient clans. It wasn't because he was afraid of the 3 of them, as there was no need to be afraid. With his current 7-dimensional cultivation, he could easily kill Alpha Origin experts by relying on his own battle prowess without the help of the 3-dimensional world. At almost the same time, whooshing sounds continued to ring out. One figure after another rushed over from the direction the 3 old men had come from. In the blink of an eye, nearly 100 people had gathered. They were all the 7-dimensional Grand Elders of the 3 ancient clans. Grand Elders, it's him. From the human cultivators of the 7 maintenance world, we found that the descendant of the desolate saint has a close relationship with him. They seem to be master and disciple. Not long ago, Lin Tian had gone out to the soul-severing Forbidden Valley and was discovered by the Horned Demon race experts. They then reported to the Grand Elders of the race, who then reported to the Grand Elders of the race who had reached the Alpha Origin stage. At the same time, they also informed the other 2 ancient clans. At this moment, all the experts of the 7-dimensional stage and above from the 3 ancient clans had arrived. Nearly 100 Grand Elders stood at the back, reporting to the 3 Grand Elders of the Alpha Origin stage as they looked at Lin Tian with sneers. Not long ago, Lin Tian had broken out of the seal and was so powerful that they didn't dare to make a move. However, it was different now. Now that the three ancient clan's supreme ancestors had stepped into the Alpha Origin stage, they no longer feared Lin Tian. At this time, they looked at Lin Tian as if they were looking at a corpse, but also as if they were looking at a huge treasure trove. This was because Lin Tian controlled all the laws of the seventh dimension. If they could obtain the method to control all the laws of the seventh dimension from Lin Tian and obtain the experience of controlling all the laws of the seventh dimension, it would be extremely beneficial to them. Desolate Saints descended. Hand him over. The supreme ancestor of the Dark Scale clan said indifferently. The grand forefathers of the Nether Flame race and the Horn Demon race looked at Lin Tian. They did not say anything, but their gazes were indifferent. Now that they were in the Alpha Origin realm, who in the eight-dimensional world could be their match? Lin Tian looked at them and said, I can't be bothered to do anything to you. Don't even think about my disciple. It's best if you know your place. With that, he stepped forward and stepped into the gate of heaven and earth that led to the sixth dimension. Boom! A ray of demonic light slashed over. The supreme ancestor of the Horned Demon race attacked and used his powerful demonic energy to shatter the gate of heaven and earth. Do you think you can escape? The supreme ancestor of the Horned Demon race's gaze was cold and indifferent, demonic light rolling in his eyes. Hand over Desolate Saint's descendant and tell us how to control all the laws of the seventh dimension. I'll let you die a quick death. The supreme ancestors of the Nether Flame race and the Dark Scale clan also had cold gazes. The supreme ancestor of the Dark Scale clan said, after you find everything, hand him over to this old man. A grand elder of my race died in his hands. I'll use his head as a memorial. Naturally, the supreme ancestor of the Horned Demon race nodded. The supreme ancestor of the Nether Flame race also had no objections. Behind them, the 100 or so grand elders of the three great ancient clans all looked at Lin Tian coldly. Lin Tian swept his gaze over the three grand elders of the three great clans and the 100 or so seventh-dimensional experts behind them. Some people always like to force themselves into trouble, he said indifferently. As his words fell, he took a step forward and appeared in front of the supreme ancestor of the Horned Demon race. Such astonishing speed caused the supreme ancestor of the Horned Demon race to be immediately shocked. He subconsciously retreated. It was also at this moment that Lin Tian pointed a sword at the center of the supreme ancestor's brows. The desolate heaven laws transformed into sword rays. Bright red blood splattered. The head of the supreme ancestor of the Horned Demon race was directly penetrated. He fell straight from the sky, the luster of life in his eyes disappearing without a trace in the blink of an eye. The supreme ancestor? The group of Horned Demon elders who had arrived couldn't help but cry out. They all rushed toward the falling body of their clan's grand elder and caught him in their arms. Then, everyone realized that their branch's grand elder's body was still there, but his spirit had been shattered. He was already dead. How is this possible? The group of grand elders was shocked, terrified, and furious. Their branch's grand elder had reached the Alpha Origin stage not long ago, but now he was instantly killed by Lin Tian. At the same time, the expressions of the supreme ancestor of the Serene Flame clan, the supreme ancestor of the Dark Scale clan, and the other seven-dimensional grand elders of the two ancient clans also changed. How is this possible? These people were shocked. An expert of the Alpha Origin stage was killed so easily. The supreme ancestor of the Serene Flame clan and the supreme ancestor of the Dark Scale clan looked at Lin Tian, and they couldn't help but feel a sense of horror. Lin Tian tilted his head, looked at the two, and walked towards them. His steps were very slow, but in just one step, he appeared in front of the supreme ancestor of the Serene Flame clan. Without any superfluous movements, 7 types of 7-dimensional laws interwove together and swirled around his palm. He directly slapped out. The supreme ancestor of the Serene Flame clan was horrified. He pushed out all his saint energy to block, but it was useless. Lin Tian's palm, interwoven with 7 types of 7-dimensional laws, was majestic and terrifying, and directly destroyed the supreme ancestor of the Serene Flame clan. A bloody mist floated in the air, a ghastly sight. Ancestor. This time, it was the group of Grand Elders of the Serene Flame clan who cried out, trembling. Their branch's Grand Elder, who had reached the Alpha origin stage, was killed just like that, with a single slap. The supreme ancestor of the Dark Scale clan felt a chill run down his spine. He looked at Lin Tian again and immediately turned to flee. In the blink of an eye, Lin Tian had easily killed the Horned Demon Ancestor and the Serene Flame Clan Elder, who were at the same cultivation level as him. At this moment, this ancient expert naturally knew how terrifying Lin Tian was. With his current strength, it was absolutely impossible to stop him. Lin Tian watched this person flee, but he didn't chase after him. Instead, he slashed out the 9 swords of samsara with 7 types of 7-dimensional laws. Clang! 9 light swords emerged from 9 different directions and arrived in front of the supreme ancestor of the Dark Scale clan in the blink of an eye. With a plop, there was no suspense. The supreme ancestor of the Dark Scale clan was destroyed in both body and spirit. Ancestor! The group of Grand Elders of the Dark Scale clan cried out. After the Serene Flame clan and Horned Demon clan's Grand Elders, their clan's Grand Elders had also been killed. The Alpha origin stage. The 3 ancient clans' Grand Patriarchs were all Alpha origin experts, yet they had all been so easily killed by Lin Tian. For a moment, they couldn't help but tremble when they looked at Lin Tian again. Their faces turned deathly pale. Everyone was trembling at this moment. Lin Tian tilted his head and looked at the Grand Elders of the 3 clans. His expression was very calm. You brought this upon yourself. As he uttered these 3 words, his mind moved slightly, and the reincarnation sword light intertwined and spread out in all directions. Plop! 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 Blood spurted out one after another. In the blink of an eye, only 1 Grand Elder of the 3 ancient clans was left. The others were all destroyed in both body and spirit. Spare me. I will no longer have any ideas about your disciple, nor will I dare to disturb you again. The last remaining Grand Elder of the Horned Demon clan was at the end of the 7th dimension, and he was trembling nonstop. Lin Tian didn't care at all. He had deliberately left this person behind to imprison him and forcibly search his consciousness. After a moment, his expression changed slightly. His origin spirit withdrew from the Grand Elder's consciousness and killed him with a slap. It's completely fallen. After searching the Grand Elder's consciousness, he truly understood the current situation of the 7th dimension. The 7th dimension had completely fallen and was controlled by the 3 ancient clans. The original sects of the cultivation world had all disappeared, uprooted by the 3 ancient clans. He had deliberately left behind the 7 legacies of the Blood Demon Hall that destroyed Little Mu Chen's family and killed Elder Zhou. He had originally wanted to let Little Mu Chen destroy the 7 legacies and take revenge himself. Now, it was impossible. He had deliberately left behind the 7 legacies, but they were destroyed by the Horned Demon clan and the other 2 ancient clans. Now, half of the living beings in the 7th dimension had been wiped out, and the other half were controlled by the 3 ancient clans and turned into slaves. He paused, glanced at the 7th dimension, and once again tore open the gate of heaven and earth that led to the 6th dimension. With his strength, it was very easy to restore peace to the 7th dimension. He could easily wipe out the 3 ancient clans. However, he was too lazy to do so. This world had no value for him to do so. He had even thought of establishing the Immortal Court in the 7th dimension, but now he had dismissed this idea. The Immortal Court was established by him, and it was like his child. He didn't want to establish the Immortal Court in such a land. At least, he didn't want it for now. He glanced at the world one last time, stepped into the gate of heaven and earth, and disappeared in the blink of an eye. The tunnel of heaven and earth was dark. He waited silently. Then, after an unknown amount of time, he was shaken out of the tunnel of heaven and earth and once again stepped on solid ground. Looking around, he happened to be in a celestial mountain. Although the intertwining Saint Spirit Chi was not comparable to the seventh dimension, it was still very rich and extraordinary. He stood there and comprehended the six-dimensional laws of the world. He spent a month to grasp all the laws of the sixth dimension, and another half a month to comprehend the 6 laws of the sixth dimension to greater mastery. After that, he spent another month to fuse the 6 laws of the sixth dimension into the 3-dimensional world in his body. I wonder if Wu Yi and the others are still in this world. Chapter 2442. Lin Tian's speed was very fast, and it didn't take long for him to arrive at the main clan of the immortal court in the sixth dimension. He then learned that Wu Yi, Ji Yu, Shui Yi, and the others had returned to the fourth dimension not long after he left. Well, it just so happens that I have to return to the fourth dimension, he muttered to himself, and directly tore open the gate of heaven and earth that led to the fourth dimension. He stepped through it and left the sixth dimension. Soon after, he appeared in the fourth dimension through the gate of heaven and earth. Now, he was in a small world in the four-dimensional world, in an empty old forest. He stood there, closed his eyes, and began to analyze the 10,000 principles. He had now comprehended and mastered the 5 types of fifth-dimension laws of the fifth dimension, the 6 types of sixth-dimension laws of the sixth dimension, and the 7 types of seventh-dimension laws of the seventh dimension. He had mastered the 4 types of fourth-dimension laws of the fourth dimension, reincarnation and destiny. The remaining ones were the space-time laws and the karma laws. At this time, he began to comprehend these 2 laws. Time passed by minute. In the blink of an eye, a month had passed. He had mastered the karma laws and the space-time laws at the same time, and then imprinted these 2 laws into the third dimension in his body. Good! A ray of light intertwined in his eyes. Now, except for the reincarnation laws, all the dimensional laws he had mastered had been integrated into the third dimension. Although they had not yet intertwined in every corner of the third dimension, it still made the third dimension much stronger. He stood in place, paused, and took little Mu Chun out of the third dimension. Master, where is this? Little Mu Chun was now 7 years old. He looked around and was a little puzzled. The fourth dimension. Lin Tiandao then briefly explained the situation of the 7 dimensions to little Mu Chun. For a moment, little Mu Chun was a little stunned. The 7 great forces of the Blood Demon Palace, the 7 inheritances that destroyed his family and killed Elder Zhou, were no longer there. Now, the 7th dimension had fallen into the hands of the 3 ancient clans. Master, little Mu Chun paused and said, in the future, when I return to the 7th dimension, can I deal with the 3 ancient clans and restore peace to the 7th dimension? He whispered, our ancestors sealed them in the past. They are truly vicious, and the 7th dimension is under their control. Not good. Lin Tian paused for a moment. He didn't know if this disciple of his was too kind or too naive. He was treated so badly by the cultivation world of the 7th dimension. Previously, he thought that he could use his own life to strengthen the seal. Now that the 3 ancient clans had broken out of the seal, he thought that he would deal with the 3 ancient clans in the future and restore peace to the 7th dimension. This made Lin Tian sigh. However, even though he sighed, he was actually very gratified. After all, this showed that the little guy's temperament was really good. He was indeed worthy of being the descendant of the primordial era's sage. Sure, he rubbed the little fellow's head and said, as long as you don't do evil, Master will not disagree. Little Mu Chun nodded. Thank you, Master. Lin Tian smiled and pulled little Mu Chun to open a spatial portal. They appeared right outside of 10 Directions' ancient star. Compared to the stars around it, the 10-directional ancient star was very small, but it gave off an astonishing sense of haziness. That kind of haziness was difficult for him to understand, even with his current cultivation. He paused outside the 10-directional ancient star, and then directly brought little Mu Chun into the 10-directional ancient star. Soon, they arrived outside the immortal court of the 9th heaven of 10 Directions' ancient star. Daddy. When he returned, he didn't conceal his aura. He even deliberately exuded his aura. Wu Yi, Ji Yu, Bai Qiu, and the others quickly discovered him and came out to greet him. Ruoxian was the first to rush over. She threw herself into Lin Tian's arms. Ruoxian was a little happy. "Daddy, why are you back so soon this time?" It had only been a year since Lin Tian stepped into the 7th dimension from the 6th dimension. Compared to the previous few times he left, the interval between his departure this time was indeed very short. "I'm preparing to go to the 8th dimension, so I came back to see you and comprehend some dimensional laws," Lin Tian said with a smile. Ruoxian nodded. After a pause, her eyes fell on little Mu Chun. She blinked and asked, "Daddy, this is?" Wu Yi, Su Shu, and the others naturally saw little Mu Chun. At this time, their eyes fell on the little guy. Lin Tianyi smiled. "This is my new disciple in the 7th dimension. This little guy is very extraordinary. He's a descendant of a sage." He introduced little Mu Chun to Wu Yi and the others, and then briefly introduced Wu Yi, Shui Yi, and the others to little Mu Chun. Little Mu Chun was very well behaved and knew etiquette. He immediately bowed to Wu Yi, Shui Yi, and the others. "Good boy," Ruoxian said with a smile. She rubbed the little guy's head and gave him a pile of small gifts. On this day, Lin Tian returned here and chatted a lot with Wu Yi and the others. The inside of the Immortal Court could be said to be very warm. Then, the next day, in the depths of the Immortal Court, he gathered Wu Yi and the others together and practiced 6 types of 6th-dimensional laws and 7 types of 7th-dimensional laws for them. He was very serious, hoping that they could control these powers. At the same time, during this process, he also divided his attention to comprehend and deduce reincarnation. Time passed, and in the blink of an eye, a year had passed. Now, only Wu Yi, Shui Yi, Ji Yu, Bai Qiu, Su Shu, Violet Fairy, Yin Yu, Lin Shi, Ziyu, AI, Ruoxian, and little Mu Chun, who he brought back from the 7th dimension, were left in the 10 directions of Immortal Court. After a year of practice, Shui Yi, Ji Yu, Bai Qiu, Su Shu, Violet Fairy, Yin Yu, Lin Shi, Ziyu, and AI did not achieve much. Little Mu Chun controlled 2 types of 6th-dimensional laws, while Ruoxian controlled 4 types of 6th-dimensional laws. As for Wu Yi, she controlled all 6 types of 6th-dimensional laws and 3 types of 7th-dimensional laws. Although she barely controlled them, she could already use them skillfully. This made Lin Tian once again sigh with emotion at Wu Yi's comprehension ability. This was really too shocking and too powerful. After that, he took another half a year to practice the 4 types of 7th-dimensional laws that Wu Yi could not control. This allowed Wu Yi to control all 7 types of 7th-dimensional laws, including the space-time and destiny laws. Only the reincarnation laws could not be controlled by Wu Yi. It was not that she could not comprehend them, but that her body could not bear the weight of reincarnation. Even if she had Lin Tian's reincarnation origin in her body, she could not do it. "Mistress, you're so powerful." Little Mu Chun looked at Wu Yi with eyes full of worship. This kind of comprehension ability in the 7th dimension was definitely not comparable to anyone since ancient times. As expected of Mother, Ruoxian also spoke. Ji Yu, Shui Yi, and the others were all shocked. Although they knew that Wu Yi was very powerful, they were still shocked at this moment. Wu Yi chuckled softly. She was quiet and gentle, and the world became brighter because of this. Lin Tian did not say anything. He gave Wu Yi a thumbs up with a smile on his face. Over the past year or so, he had helped Wu Yi and the rest practice the dimensional laws while comprehending reincarnation. His results were not small, as he had already grasped 60% of reincarnation and was not far from grasping 70% of reincarnation. "Let's go for a walk in the outside world." He smiled. Wu Yi and the others naturally had no objections. On this day, he led a group of people out of the 10 directions of Mortal Court and went to the outside world. In fact, he did not have much time to be with his family and friends. He was about to enter the 8th dimension, and like before, he went to many places with Wu Yi and the others. Then, when he entered the 6th dimension with Yin Yip-er's divination, he quickly found his 9 senior brothers, Bai Ziki, Yang Qi, and the others, and gathered together in the main clan of the immortal court in the sixth dimension. Desolate Heaven Bloodline? She has mastered the seventh dimension Desolate Heaven law at such a young age? Really? Whooshing Crocodile looked at Lin Tian's new little disciple and could not help but show a shocked expression. Little junior brother is really amazing. Little Fox hugged Little Moo-chun and said. Little Moo-chun was now almost 9 years old, but his cultivation had already reached the Sage King realm, and he had mastered the seventh dimension. No matter how one looked at it, he was a super monster, and the group was shocked. Not bad. Even Empyrean Divine Seal spoke up. As he looked at Little Moo-chun, a thick light shined in his eyes. Lin Tian chuckled. After this day of gathering, he practiced the dimensional laws for his 9 senior brothers, by Ziki, and the others in the sixth dimension immortal court. He was very serious and practiced for a full year. In a year, Fengshen Tianzuan and the others had mastered 2 or 3-dimensional laws. By Ziki, Yang Qi, Yi Fengtian, and Little Taichu had mastered 1-dimensional law. The others were still unable to master 1-dimensional law. It's too difficult. White Tiger rolled his eyes. Dimensional laws were mostly the foundation of a large world, the strongest force, and it was really difficult for ordinary people to master. Lin Tiantan smiled. In this year, he was still comprehending and deducing reincarnation, and now he had mastered 70% of reincarnation. Moreover, after such a long time, even if he did not take the initiative to cultivate, his cultivation had reached the middle stage of the 7th dimension. You can really improve your cultivation while sleeping. Whooshing Crocodile rolled his eyes. Now that Lin Tian had broken the 7 seals on his soul root, it was really too abnormal. Time continued to pass. In the blink of an eye, another month had passed. This time, he spent a long time with his family and friends. On this day, Lin Tian was ready to go to the 8th dimension. You said that the 7th dimension is now very chaotic, and the 3 big fierce ancient clans are there, and the strongest are only Silent Soul Realm experts? Before you go to the 8th dimension, send us there to gain experience. Real battles are also very necessary. Fengshen Tianzuan said, Master, disciple will also go back to the 7th dimension. Little Mukin also said. Lin Tian thought about it and did not refuse. On this day, he directly tore open the gate of heaven and earth to the 7th dimension and took his 9 senior brothers, Little Mukin, Yi Tong, Little Fox by Ziki, and the others to enter the 7th dimension. Senior brothers, you must pay attention to your safety. He looked at his 9 senior brothers and the others and said, Now, in the group, the strongest cultivation was in the 6th dimension. With this cultivation, going to the 7th dimension to gain experience was not too dangerous. Even so, he was still a little worried. After all, these people were very important to him. Chapter 2443. Don't worry, we understand, Fengshen Tianzuan said, then looked at Lin Tian. You too. Safety first. Daddy, be careful, Ruoshin said. Wu Yi, Jiu, and the other girls also said. They had also come to the 7th dimension and wanted to gain experience here. Lin Tian nodded and looked at Wu Yi. I'll leave them to you. Wu Yi was now in the 6th dimensional realm and had mastered all the dimensional laws from the 4th dimensional realm to the 7th dimensional realm, except for the reincarnation cycle. Even an ordinary Silent Void Realm cultivator would not be able to withstand a single blow from Wu Yi. Okay. Wu Yi nodded gently. Lin Tian said a few words to Wu Yi and said goodbye to everyone again. He directly tore open the gate of heaven and earth to the 8th dimension. Now that he was in the middle of the 7th dimension, it was naturally very easy for him to open the gate of heaven and earth to the 8th dimension. After waving goodbye to everyone, he stepped into the gate of heaven and earth to the 8th dimension and disappeared in the blink of an eye. The tunnel of heaven and earth was dark and oppressive, and the flow of time seemed very blurry. Inside the tunnel of heaven and earth, Lin Tian waited silently. After an unknown amount of time, light appeared in front of him. There were irregular intertwining forces in the tunnel of heaven and earth, which shook him out and stepped on solid ground again. Almost at the same time, a scream came from about 10 feet away, accompanied by the cry of a young girl. Lin Tian tilted his head and looked. About 10 feet away, a young girl was riding on a strange beast covered in snow-white fur and with a pair of snow-white wings on its back. A boy was beside her. Shenglu. His gaze fell on the strange beast, and his expression changed slightly. Shenglu was an extremely rare, auspicious beast. It was rare to see one even in thousands of years, and he never thought that he would see one here. "Who is it? How dare you frighten the holy knight of my miss and my master?" Next to Shenglu, the boy shouted and stared coldly at Lin Tian. He was about 6 years old. Lin Tian looked at the boy and vaguely remembered that when he first fell out of the tunnel of heaven and earth, he heard the cry of the beast and the girl's scream. The boy seemed to have scolded him because of this. "Sorry, the gate of space set itself here. I didn't mean to disturb you." He apologized and then turned and walked into the distance. When he landed in this place, he already felt that the saint's spirit chi in the air was shockingly dense, far from the 7th dimension. This place was the 8th dimension. Clang! A sharp sword light slashed over, bringing with it strands of demonic chi. It landed beside Lin Tian's feet and split the ground. Lin Tian stopped and tilted his head to look at the boy. The sword light came from the boy. "Shenglu? He's Shenglu." Shenglu, 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 Shenglu. Shenglu Teat. Shenglu, Shenglu. Shenglu is the holy knight of my master, and we will ascend the 9th dimension together. Looking at Lin Tian, he said coldly, "Now, destroy your own cultivation, and this matter will be over. Otherwise, you will die here." The girl sat on Shenglu and looked indifferently. She didn't say anything, but there was a trace of arrogance in her expression. Lin Tian looked at the boy, glanced at him indifferently, and continued to walk into the distance. "You're courting death." The boy had red lips and white teeth, but his attacks were extremely ruthless. He took a step forward and instantly came in front of Lin Tian, directly grabbing the top of Lin Tian's head. His 5 fingers were as sharp as immortal swords, and his aura was cold and gloomy. "Don't look for trouble," Lin Tian said coldly, slapping out with a flip of his hand. This was an immortal forest, a land of freedom. He was jolted out of the tunnel of heaven and earth and landed here. The strange beast Shenglu and that young girl were frightened because of his sudden appearance. This was not his fault. It was completely fine even if he did not apologize. However, he still apologized. However, this boy was relentless and aggressive. Just because of this small matter that wasn't entirely his fault, after he apologized, he wanted him to cripple his own cultivation. After he ignored this, he actually directly grabbed at the top of his head, clearly wanting to kill him. It was truly sinister and cruel. Bang! He swung his hand and met the boy's attack. With a bang, the boy was blasted away and staggered back a dozen steps. "You!" The boy was moved, and his face turned even colder. The girl on Shenglu's back was also astonished. She was well aware of how powerful her elder brother's boy was. He was transformed from a ferocious beast that had been suppressed in a demonic mountain. Although his cultivation was only at the peak of the 7th dimension, his physical strength was extremely terrifying. In terms of physical strength, even some Alpha Origin experts were far from his match. However, in this place, the boy had been blasted away by a single palm strike from Lin Tian, an intermediate 7th dimension human cultivator. Lin Tian swept an indifferent glance at the boy and continued to walk away. The boy's face twisted, and a cold light burst out. His body directly expanded, transforming into a giant beast that was 100 feet tall. His eyes were red and green, and his claws were sharp. With a low roar, boundless demonic chi surged as he clawed at Lin Tian's head. "Die!" Cold words came out of his mouth, extremely sinister. Wherever the beast paw passed, the surrounding space would be forcefully distorted and then collapse in pieces. Lin Tian raised his hand, grabbed the other party's claws, and twisted them. With a crack, the other party's claws were shattered on the spot. He was suppressed and forced back into his boy form. "Let go! If Master knows, you won't have a good death." The boy roared, staring coldly at Lin Tian. It was very sinister, and the killing intent in his eyes was very strong. Lin Tian's face darkened, and he no longer showed mercy. He raised his leg and kicked. Accompanied by boundless saint power, he directly sent the other party flying. With a poof, the person's physical body collapsed as he was sent flying, and the spirit in his knowledge sea also collapsed. You! On Sheng Lu's back, the girl was shocked and angry. You dare to kill my brother's servant? How dare you? Under her, Sheng Lu felt her anger. With a low roar, boundless saint power surged and directly pressed down on Lin Tian. Its body was snow-white and surrounded by Saint Qi, but at this time, its eyes were full of fierceness, like a murderous beast. It raised its claws, and saint light gathered. It was full of murderous intent, as if it wanted to kill Lin Tian. The auspicious beast has become a great ominous beast, Lin Tianling said, showing no mercy. The divine sword in his hand, which was condensed with the desolate heaven law, directly slashed down. Poof! Blood splattered. The auspicious beast, Sheng Lu, was at the Alpha Origin realm, but it could not block this sword and was directly beheaded. His divine soul was also shattered. With a bang, the auspicious beast's body fell to the ground, and the girl was thrown out. Bright red blood with traces of gold constantly flowed out from Sheng Lu's body. You killed my brother's Saint Knight? How dare you do that? This is my brother's Saint Knight. It's an auspicious beast. The girl was extremely shocked and angry. This was an auspicious beast that her brother had subdued in Xianbai, Sacred Mountain, and its value was immeasurable. This time, it was specially sent back with the boy to bring her to an ancient land, but she did not expect that it would be killed by Lin Tian here. You didn't kill it and let it kill me? Lin Tian said indifferently. He would never show mercy to people or demons who wanted to kill him, regardless of their origin or whether they were auspicious beasts or not. The girl glared at Lin Tian, wanting to say something, but facing Lin Tian's indifferent eyes, she did not dare to say anything. The boy was at the end of the seven-dimensional realm and was killed. The auspicious beast, Sheng Lu, was at the Alpha Origin realm and was also killed by Lin Tian. As for herself, she was only at the early stage of the seven-dimensional realm. So, how could she dare to continue to contradict Lin Tian? At this time, she did not even dare to show the slightest hostility or killing intent, afraid that Lin Tiansha would kill her. Lin Tian looked at her, swept an indifferent glance, and walked away. This girl was definitely hostile to him, but since she did not make a move, he naturally would not kill her. He walked into the distance, his steps calm and steady. The girl watched Lin Tian leave until Lin Tian was far away and disappeared from her sight. Only then did she breathe a sigh of relief. Damn it, brother will not let you off. She gritted her teeth and walked in another direction, quickly leaving this place. After leaving the previous place, Lin Tian had already walked far away. Everywhere he passed, there were magnificent celestial mountains, one after another, and the Holy Spirit Qi in the air was at least 1,000 times stronger than in the seven-dimensional world. He could not help but be moved by this, and once again thought of the difference between the dimensions of each world. Living in such an extremely dense Holy Spirit Qi space, the living beings of this world had a much higher starting point than the living beings of the lower worlds. Take the seven-dimensional world, for example. In the seven-dimensional world, the difficulty of reaching the seven-dimensional realm was comparable to ascending the heavens. However, in the eight-dimensional world, it was definitely not a difficult thing. He walked in this world, passing by celestial mountains, looking for places with relatively dense Holy Spirit Qi. After the seven-dimensional realm, the Alpha Origin realm, the Breaking Desolation realm, the Tribulation realm, the eight-dimensional realm, he muttered to himself, "This time, I will probably be able to unlock the eighth seal on my soul route when I reach the Breaking Desolation realm." Now, he was in the middle stage of the seven-dimensional realm, not far from the Breaking Desolation realm. He planned to find a place with dense Holy Spirit Qi in this world to cultivate and raise his cultivation base to the Breaking Desolation realm as soon as possible. Then, he would unlock the 8th seal on his soul route to reach the 8th-dimensional realm as soon as possible. And from there, enter the 9th-dimensional world. Entering the 9th-dimensional world was his current biggest goal. His master, master's wife, and father and mother were all in the 9th-dimensional world. He walked through the celestial mountains and ancient forests, using the dragon burial scripture and the 7th-dimensional earth law to explore the layout of the world to determine where the Holy Spirit Chi and the Tao of heaven and earth were the densest. Soon, he arrived in the 8th-dimensional world. About 3 days had passed. Boom! On this day, a dazzling beam of light suddenly shot up from the distance. It was extremely dazzling, an extremely shocking saint's spiritual chi interweaved within it. It evolved into a series of miraculous phenomena of the heavens and the earth, as if a super-divine domain had opened. Lin Tian was still very far away from that direction, but he could still see the glaring light beam. He could feel the dense saint spirit chi that surged along with the light beam. He could also see the blurry heaven and earth phenomenon. He was immediately moved. Not a bad place. You're tuning in to the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.